One. Namaste and good morning. Welcome to IVM TV World News. Good morning to everyone. I am your host, Kimberly Calhoun. I'm live in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the United States. With us today, we have our senior executive producer, Nicholas Palaveda. And of course, down from under in Australia, our
Good day, mate.
Good day, mate. Anyway, so today we're without Ankit this morning.
He'll be on in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, because this is a lot of work that we do. A lot of people don't understand. We just don't get on here and sit and talk for 4 hours.
Yeah, we do.
And yeah, we do. But we do a lot of research, a lot of preparing, and so anyway. But let's talk about what's going on in Australia. You're there early in the morning, couple hours before us. So
good. Good morning, guys. Good day, mate.
Good day, mate.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the numbers, and it's definitely like I've been saying for the last few days, the beginning of a flat line, and it's really coming quite through, and it's showing right through. People have been following their restrictions, have been staying home. The numbers that have increased really very slow, very, very slow, so that all over the bigger places like Queensland and Sydney, the numbers have increased exponentially. When I'm saying exponentially, I'm not talking like numbers like they have in the States or they had in China or in Italy, but at a slow crawling pace. And yeah,
the result of that. What is the result of the slow crawling upward pace? I mean,
so they're looking at opening up in stages. They're going to open up, but in stages. So that's what they've decided on today. And like every day, they've got like a news brief where the Prime Minister comes on and sort of does a roundup for the day. And yeah, the biggest problem we had was a cruise ship. And from this one cruise boat in Sydney, they had like 19 deaths from it. Quite a high number.
On the boat?
From a boat.
Yeah. Oh, okay, from a boat. Yeah. So did the boat port in Australia and
no, it was a cruise ship. They go around different places.
Sure.
Right.
And
well, but there's an explanation for that. First of all, the cruise demographics are usually elderly people.
Yes.
People that are over 60. Many of them also have pre-existing conditions because, as one of my doctors said, things start to break down. So you have that perfect storm. And then there's a concentration of people.
Concentration of people in the one spot. And the irony of today, they were talking about it on the news, and these people say, bring back the cruise, bring back the cruise. I said, hey, you just got off the boat.
Well, I think, and we've got Boris Abbey sending us a message this morning. Good morning, Boris. I hope you're enjoying us. He says all it takes is in one, individual.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're in close proximity, because as we're aware, the minute you become infected, you are contagious. And so that's what has made this very, very frustrating from the beginning, because you don't have symptoms for 14 days and you're contagion everybody you come in contact with. So to track that back is...
Absolutely. Look at this South Korea scenario. Just the one lady, one person, and they infected I think it was 6,000 people because she was involved in a church setting. So she went to like 3 or 4 different churches, and all those people got infected. They didn't die, but they got infected.
Right, and they said they call her patient 31,
yes,
and
yes.
She infected over 60% of the people who were infected in South Korea. They at one point claimed her. This was several weeks ago for 7,000 infected. So, and Nick has done the math. It's a horrific number if you just bump into one person per day. And as those one persons bump into one person, and by the time you do the algorithm of 14 days of, so what is your solution? Oh, Boris, you are funny. Stay at home, right here. Our solution right now. That's not the end all solution, but that is a good solution for right now. Is stay home. It's costing some of us a lot of money from work, but we'll get around that. But once we contain it, like they've done in other countries with the stay-home policies, we'll be able to isolate the hot zones.
Well, wait. We already worked out a solution. Okay, come on, we did that months ago. You test people. Okay, certify them that they're COVID-19 clean. Okay, and then they can go back and meet people. And then, of course, what you do is do contact tracing if they run into somebody that may not be. So there's already a solution. Now, so IBM TV already figured it out. And then that'll give us time to get the treatments and then the ultimate vaccine. So we figured it out. Okay.
So we need to get Boris on.
Can you
Boris link and have him come on?
I already did. I'm ahead of you. Did that while you guys were talking. Okay.
So, but let's talk about this. In some cases, I think the testing can be a false illusion of I'm okay. And I can go out.
But it doesn't matter. It mitigates. See, the thing is what you're doing right now. You're not doing 100%. What you're doing is you're mitigating, containing, preventing. In other words, you're doing rational steps. How you can talk in. Boris, what you do is you got to press that StreamYard button. And as long as you have earphones and a microphone and a computer, you're on. So it's not.
Well, and if you're on an Apple phone, then you have to go through.
Oh, yeah, you can actually do it.
Safari. Yeah. And if you're on a Microsoft, you can go through Google. If you're on an Apple computer, you have to load a Google. I know all of this now. You have to load a Google app on your Apple computer in order to access StreamYard.
Yeah, once you're on to StreamYard, then it's permanently embedded in your computer.
It's there. No.
Okay, on your phone, you should be able to do it by pressing StreamYard.
How can I talk in? We're sending it to you. I'm on my phone and I want to talk in. So what kind of phone do you have, Boris? This is kind of fun, by the way.
Yeah. Rakesh, what is the report from Hong Kong? What do we have over in Hong Kong?
Hong Kong is fine. There's really, I go and pick up my wife every day, drop her to office, pick her up. No major hassle. And I don't know the latest today, but yesterday, a few days ago, we had no new patients. Mm-hmm. But I've heard news in Heilongjiang in China, the border between China and Russia. There have been some crossovers of Chinese people coming from Vladivostok who are positive, but I don't know how many.
Nobody does, and that's a good point. And there's a lot of debates going on right now with with China and them trying to come out and say and do things that I guess we're not going to ever know the truth. This is what I tell people. We're just not ever going to know the truth. And I think that we need to take the information we have and make it work for ourselves. Somebody came back and said, and I think Boris is the one that's going to be coming on and sharing with us, that China will probably be first to come out with a vaccine. But of course that makes sense. They've been dealing with this since November, right? In massive amounts. I think what the real problem is, after I started doing some research on when the first coronavirus was founded by that Jane Hurt, a scientist back in 1964, which she actually identified it way before 1964, but a young child had it. I think what we're dealing with right now is something more manipulated. Otherwise, we would have been able to have found a vaccine sooner, or our bodies could have had an immunity to it. I think most natural things out there, our bodies can form an immunity to. And I think if we manipulate these things, our bodies aren't designed to have an immune system to them. So I think we're running into that kind of problem, and China ran into that problem when it first came out. And again, we still don't know ground zero. And I've learned a lot by researching what the scientists have done in the past with certain things. I've been reading them, and I'm no scientist, but what I have learned is it's very imperative sometimes for them to find ground zero. Welcome, Dr. Boris.
Let's see if
Thank you.
Oh, we can hear you. Okay, so you're beaming through.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
What city or
country? Can you see me? I'm on my phone, so
all we see is your avatar. We don't see you. We just see your avatar.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing is, but we can hear you quite clearly. So what city are you beaming in from, or what country?
Yeah, I'm calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And my internet is down, and also I'm working on T-Mobile right now, so I apologize if you can't see me.
Okay, but we can hear you.
I love Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was cold today, Kim. Come on now.
Oh, I know, but it's beautiful countryside. Yeah. So.
Well, Dr. Abby, you've been doing some world traveling. Apparently, you've been to Afghanistan many times and quite a few other countries. Are you COVID-19 certified clean, or did you infect Afghanistan? What happened?
No, I'm just a simple college professor.
Okay, all right. So you didn't infect Afghanistan, but you
well, actually, yeah, I have so many issues with COVID-19, and my thoughts are, a wee bit non-conventional.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, then you'd be great for some of our shows, because we certainly don't do too many conventional things here. So give us some of the non-conventional thoughts. Let's hear it.
I believe COVID-19 is a biowarfare weapon from China.
Yep.
No, totally. Oh gosh, I can't confirm it.
Did it kind of escape their grasp over in Wuhan? Is that what happened?
Well, there's, COVID-19. We have H5N1, H5N5, H5N7, and H5N9.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about this round of what's going on. I'm worried about the future.
Okay, right. And by the way, we did discuss this on IBM TV. The thing is, what about the bio warfare? In other words, people that get a hold of viruses and use it for illicit things, like trying to use it to, how do you say, exploit or hold hostage the world, because they've developed a strain of basically a bad virus. In other words, this is our first shot at it. But this is
Nick, on your thoughts, that's not rational.
Good.
Individuals do not bioengineer these, these viruses. Governments do.
Sure.
Governments do.
Right.
China has, Russia has. This is a matter of.
Can't bioterrorism, but Dr. Abbey, can't bioterrorism exist? In other words, some country that creates a strain that is resistant and use it for bad or illicit things. Just like we have viruses and computers, you got a bunch of people around creating computer viruses. Couldn't a subversive group engage in bioterrorism? Is that possible?
No, it's not.
Good.
It takes years. It's like we're looking for a vaccine for this now. It will take at least 10 years, hundreds of billions of dollars to just create a vaccine for this, if we can do that. Now, with these weapon warfare mechanisms that governments have created, a virus is very, very simple. It has typically 16 carbon. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about it, but it takes a lot of resources, thousands of scientists to create this, and
so you don't think this was just a mutant?
No, this was created by man.
I think it was mutated by man as well. I think it is mutated, but I think that it was manipulated by man. It could have been generated in a lab where they were doing research for what they say, research for vaccines in chickens and livestock. But I truly believe that if it had been a natural form, like Dr. Morris is talking about, I believe I agree with him in the same way that our bodies would find a way we would have an immunity for it. We would have a vaccine.
Yeah, I disagree, Kim. After World War II, after Truman and Eisenhower created, a lot of special things. Biowarfare is a better way to wage a war nowadays than tanks, guns. I mean, imagine this. Look at it two ways, and I'll break this down very simple. America and China go to war. What happens? Bad things. Nuclear weapons, people die, or you wage it on a level that hits a population. And look at it this way too. What city in America, and I'm opening this up to all of you, what city in America got hit the hardest with COVID?
Oh, New York.
New York.
Why? Tell me.
Because it's very congested. In other words, if you ever go there, try not to bump into people. It's really, really tough.
So is LA. Okay, Nick, my repertoire for you. No, LA, San Francisco, Seattle. Why was New York hit the hardest?
More congested. I mean, if you look at the population per square
more
foot,
internationally transit.
No, it is the financial district of the Western world.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so the thing is, but how would that actually hit New York? In other words, why was it? Why would it discriminate? Viruses don't discriminate. They'll go anywhere.
Oh, come on, Nick. Okay, look at it this way. I know China. I've been there twice. I know their culture. Mm-hmm. I would hit Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing.
Yeah, but what's their motive though? I mean, Xi Jinping's already buying the whole world, so why does he care?
Oh, God. Nick, I'll repeat it. What is the capital of financial freedom in the world? London?
Oh, yeah, London.
New York?
You could argue that right now it's pretty spread.
And also look at these statistics. It's pinpointed. Mm-hmm. South Korea, Hong Kong, New York City.
Yeah, but Hong Kong, Rakesh, you were saying Hong Kong has very few, correct?
Yeah, Hong Kong has been following a discipline. Unfortunately, the virus that arrived in New York came from Europe. The strain is deadlier, and it didn't come from anywhere in China. So the conspiracy theories abound, and we will never know which one is right or wrong.
Yeah, and even if we did,
stop that. Also,
if I've got something to say, I will say it.
No. I think
I want you to. Kim and Nick know me. I will back down upon my opinions and my facts if you can provide me more facts. I want to know why New York was hit the hardest.
So, okay, I think it's because
don't wear masks. have this. You don't listen to your leaders. Lack of discipline. That's all.
Very true. No, I love that comment. Can I ask him to repeat that?
Yeah.
We do not respect our leaders.
No, we don't.
We don't.
No.
Kim, I posted on Facebook the other day about the block party. For God's sake, Americans are so full of freedom. We want restaurants. We want McDonald's. And I think democracy has a very weak shell. And I think that China is exploiting that. China will exploit the United States first and also India second.
Well, the thing is, remember,
it hasn't worked with India. India's beating it.
Yeah.
India overcame it because their people respect their leaders, and they shut down.
Oh, India does not respect their leaders. I've been to Delhi, Goa. Come on now, no.
But they're
See, the numbers speak.
The numbers speak, and they're respecting they're respecting this.
No, okay. So I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Okay.
And
remember the problem.
India. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oppresses, especially under Modi, oppresses any views that are against him.
That is true. I'm not a person who loves Mr. Modi. I will grant you that Mr. Modi is intolerant of dissenting opinion. Absolutely right. Yes. But Mr. Modi has himself been humbled by this violence.
Yeah.
Oh, come now. And Modi is a Hindi nationalist.
Don't take my word for it.
Oh, the funny thing about viruses, remember in the United States, there was some guy, Patrick Henry, said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And that's what he said to King George.
Give him death.
But let me say something
Nick,
about
I love that you said that.
Right.
That is what's wrong with America.
That's right.
We want liberty right now. We want restaurants. We want food.
Right. That's wrong. And what happens is that when you say that to a virus, the virus ignores you and will give you the alternative death. They don't really care what you said. Viruses are non-governmental. So what happens is when you go to protest, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and protest in Raleigh. Go protest in Sacramento. It's irrelevant. Say liberty or death. Viruses aren't going to listen to you and change their mind. And they won't give you liberty.
I look at other numbers too that are just baffling me. That just irritated the crap out of me yesterday after our talk with Dan Brook. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I look at all the states that are struggling for resources and the ones that are having issues, because there are some that are not as bad off, I kid you not, it almost looked like they were all the Democratic states.
Well,
I said I wasn't going to bring this up.
At the end of the day, because we're humans,
we're going to look at numbers.
Okay, listen, we're going to try to make everything
I have to disagree with Nick and Kim. We're Americans. We clinch upon our freedom. We love our big trucks. We love going to the beaches. We love going out to eat. And that is our greatest weakness, because Americans are simply not complying with the protocols that the government's pushing down, period. And I'd like some input from India, if I can, please.
I'm in Hong Kong, so maybe Ankit's got to respond.
Ankit's got to.
Oh, you're in Hong Kong. So.
I could almost respond for India right now. I feel like, even though I'm not from there, I just feel like I got.
Wait for 5 minutes.
I'll wait for Ankit, or if any of the others will join us, which they usually do by now. But Boris, I will say this: if I were going to hit the country, there would be bigger and easier ways to take down the U.S. than chemical warfare. There is an
chemical. No, we're talking about bio.
I know, but I'm just saying, if I wanted to take down the U.S. and take control over the U.S., which China can do very easily because they own all of our banks, they own most of our food. But I would say this: I'm not going to say what it is, but I worked in that industry for many, many years. Strategically, they could take us down in a heartbeat once they remove that. Another thing, every financial institution is New York City, but that's not where the bank's computer systems are, and you know that. You know where all the bank's computer systems are not there. I know where they are because I've worked on them. I've worked on all of them. So the bank's computer systems are not in New York, and if I were going to take down the financial institution and control a country, I would not do it with biochemical warfare. That's stupid.
Okay, wait. Let me take a step back. If I were Hitler,
stupid.
Which city would I attack?
Berlin.
Question: If China
get it over with.
No, New York City. Oh gosh, yeah.
GDP has gone down by shrinking by 7%. It was growing by 6% and it's now shrinking by 7%. Which country would do a crazy thing to itself? That means a loss of 13%. Why would you do that?
Why? If I were China, I mean, seriously.
If you wanted to take down America, just fund Colombia. Americans will implode.
No, listen. You
just fund
don't take it down.
All the hashish or the heroin. That's what we need to do.
I wrote a paper in 2003.
I agree with that. Take down all the drug cartel, and you'll take down a lot.
Give them the airplanes. America implodes on its own. It doesn't need help from outside.
So I guess all of you are voting parties of the Chinese Nationalist Party.
No,
I'm a Kiwi living in Hong Kong.
Hey, are you up in Conover? You said you're up in Danville?
No, he's in Fayetteville.
I thought you said he was in Danville.
Yeah, he's in Fayetteville, but I think Payush.
I have issues with all of you. I love Nick. I love Kim. I love all of you. But China is the enemy right now, and if you don't realize that, it's like von Niemer's, poem about the Holocaust. When they came for the socialists, they didn't come for me, so forth and so on. And I feel so sorry for all of you. Okay.
No. So, Boris, let me explain something to you. Years ago, I tried to do business with the Chinese. I think the people in themselves, natural, hardworking people like you and I, they're fairly not dangerous. But the people who are in high corporate,
oh my God,
can be very, very dangerous. And I've worked with them, and I chose not to. And over the years, I chose not to eat any food distributed from there. I read my labels, and I'm very, very careful about whatever food or medications. If a medication is printed and says that it came through China in any sort of way, I stop taking it. So I will tell you this. I strongly believe that there's something wrong there in the higher force of China. I won't accept any of their masks. I won't accept any of their test kits. But I don't think that that's the way we need to be doing business on a global level. But I don't trust their corporate people, and I don't trust their leaders, just like I don't trust our leaders.
Okay, so Kim, I've done business with the Chinese too. I had a patent for a clothing style, and also a patent for a regenerative phone charger, and they stole it. I could only afford a U.S. patent. They filed for an international patent, so they sold it all over the world. So going back to what you said, you've had bad experiences with them. Why the hell, pardon my language, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. I can deal with that profanity.
I was overseas for too long, so
that's all right.
Yeah, why trust them? For God's sake.
I don't trust the corporate and the business and the leadership right now. I really don't. I think there's a massive cover-up going on, and until we're transparent with what really happened, we're going to never find a solution to this. I think if they were transparent with us, then we will find a solution, but they're not going to be. That part.
Okay. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree the top level, but I am also believe that there are some humans over there, just like you and I, who want to survive. And I think Rakesh can agree on this one too, because he had mentioned this too, and it kind of made me wake up and realize that not every human's bad. A lot of it's politics, and I think politics are killing us. To be honest with you, I think politics are killing us.
Yeah, I disagree. I believe that the Chinese is following the same path that the Nazis did in World War II. You look at their, their
regiment. They have a regiment.
Path. Yeah. I think that their military is stronger than the United States. I'll state back. They have expanded in Cambodia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Afghanistan, northern Afghanistan. Even when I was there, I saw Chinese military forces in northern Afghanistan. They have partnered with Iran. They have partnered with Iraq. And I don't think that we should show a kind and gentle attitude towards them.
No, I think we need to be very stern at this point. I think I think there's way too much water under the bridge, and but I think we need to. Sometimes when you have an enemy, it's best to keep him closer to you, and maybe you can figure things out.
I disagree. I'll state this openly. There were military forces in North Afghanistan when I was in Afghanistan that violated every treaty, every agreement on the face of the world, and America did not stand up. And that concerns me because also we're in a situation now with COVID-19. I've lost friends in Afghanistan, NATO forces, Indian forces, tried to liberate Afghanistan from the Taliban. And now Chinese forces, literally, and I will state this as a fact, and call me out if I'm wrong, there are military Chinese forces in northern Afghanistan right now. America has not stood up. Everybody's backing up, and that's not good. And it's the same thing with COVID-19. I've never witnessed in my entire life. I'm 46. I served my country for 10 plus another 10 years. I've never seen foreign military forces violating international agreements in a country and nobody speaks up about it. And I can provide pictures, I can provide testimonies, and it disgusts me, because the thing is, for all of us, I'm not an American imperialist. I love my freedom of speech, my freedom of traveling. Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, I don't be sorry. I think there's a lot to be said and heard here. Nick, what is your thoughts on that? I mean, you've worked with Dr. Boris a lot.
I think we should do is talk to Patush Gupta, because he's from India, and you guys had questions relating to India, and I think it should be directed to.
Ankit's on too. Good evening, Ankit. We missed you.
Good idea to direct the India. See, I like to listen to the people that are from the countries that you're calling out, rather than listen to the people that have wandered through their countries, because they know more about it. So my thinking is, let's see from
Dr. Gupta, what is your feeling on that?
Right.
On Boris has been to Afghanistan. He's been traveling in and out of Afghanistan and China for the last few years. And he's bringing out the fact that it's his belief, and he's in the military part of it, that this could be chemical warfare that they are using against the country. What is your thought? All the countries. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I do agree with this that they are using this kind of a warfare, which should not have been there so far. And these guys have always not been believing in or trying to, or have been always trying to control the businesses all over the place. And this was the opportunity they got. I mean, they created this opportunity to rule the world. And I
Whoa.
just don't see
It
all
could
this.
be.
Looks like
Yeah.
you have an ally, Dr. Boris.
Because,
You have Dr.
because
Gupta.
you see, the way they have been going to Europe and buying the shares when they have fallen in the market, and now they try to invade India too, and having a lot of investments in Indian companies, which now the government has stalled.
Yeah, wow.
I
Well,
agree with
that's
my government. I agree with my government on this, that any such move which should be there to destroy the indigenous industries must be stopped.
wow.
Yeah, Mr. Gupta, I admire that.
That's very powerful.
And
Yeah.
I'm not shying away from this, because being in US also for some time, when I was there on a vacation to Vegas, I could see Chinese all over the place. That they have the money, but that does not mean that they are going to use it against the humanity,
Mhm.
and in such a ruthless way.
No, and
That's
I
what
think it. I think
we know what they have done to. We know that what they had done to Tibet, which was part of India once. We know what they had done to it. We also know that what they have been doing in and around Chinese places, like Hong Kong. They tried to destroy that too, but they could not, because Hong Kong had become a financial capital of the world,
Mhm.
so they could not touch it. Today also they had all the nerve not to touch it again, because they are the financial power there. If Hong Kong closes down, then Chinese government automatically closes down. So they couldn't do it. So now everybody is pulling out of it.
see, Hong Kong is one of those powerful countries that if you're going to take the world down, you're going to have to take down part of Hong Kong.
Yeah, the Hong
This
Kong.
is what I tell people: if you want to take over the world, biochemical is always appealed to some people, but you're going to end up killing your own. There is an easier way. There is an easier way. And if you want to take down the financial institution, you don't just go to the financial buildings in New York or New York City. You go to where they keep their computers. Okay. That's where, and I'm sorry, I just told the world how to kill us. But that's what you do. You don't go, I mean, but I agree. I think that this was a biochemical research that got out of hand. I think it got loose before they wanted it to. Because if they wanted to kill us, they would have mutated a form that really killed us, not just made us sick, but really killed us.
The thing is, the real problem is that politicians turn into megalomaniacs is the real problem.
No, they follow Buddhism, and I don't understand. Buddhism
No,
doesn't.
I disagree from a military standpoint. I disagree from a psyops standpoint. I disagree from a counterintelligence standpoint. If you want to take down an institution, you infiltrate it. I wrote a.
But you infiltrate the politicians. You don't infiltrate just the people. You make sure that the leaders get sick too.
Yeah. But
Boris Johnson got sick.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, the politicians are sick. That's the real because, I mean, the thing is,
to affect them. We already know they're sick.
Let's get real. They become megalomaniacs at a certain level. What is the great desire for these stupid humans to want to take over the world? I mean, are they playing Risk on a big level? I mean, they're sick people, and that's
Nick. Let's talk about
healthy people will be scientists and doctors who cure the world. Okay, sick people become politicians who try to take over the world. And that's the real problem.
Disagree, Nick.
Okay, so you think Hitler and Stalin were mentally sane? Is that what you're saying, Dr. Boris Abbey?
No, I'm saying Pol Pot.
Well, was he a sane person, do you think?
Hell no.
Okay, for God's sake. Of course, that's what I'm saying. He's a megalomaniac.
Yeah, we're the same people here talking to you, but I've been trained to recognize the sick. Pol Pot, Cambodia. Yeah. Killed all the doctors, all the politicians.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. Because the thing is,
what's happening now, though, with and it's not it's a bio weapon.
Not
a chemical weapon, as you know, Kim stated, but Boris Johnson has been sick. Merkel has allegedly been sick.
Sure.
Donald Trump allegedly, held the hand of a person from Colombia who tried to give him the COVID-virus. We are in a different age. It's not chemical warfare. Chemical warfare is like mustard gas and all this other nonsense. Biowarfare it's this simple. It's this simple. You have moles. You have people who are willing to get infected to travel to a country to spread it. So you inject them, you put them on a plane, and they go.
Sure. Well,
we saw that where people were willing to sacrifice their lives to take planes down on our country.
That was staged. It's bullcrap, Kim.
I know, but
I'm talking about biowarfare. Biowarfare is a vial. I can stick enough H5N5 in a vial that you would not be able to detect. I can put it in a pen. I can fly to the United States. I can fly to India. They flew to New York City. They, for some reason, didn't fly to Delhi. They fly to Dubai. They fly to Germany, and they simply spread it. It's that simple. It's not.
But they did. I don't think they planned it out this way. I think it got out of hand before they got it where they wanted to, because our first infected was in Seattle, Washington. And then it came to North Carolina. Then we started seeing massive amounts happen in New York. And those were people who came from Italy and China and places like that. And Italy took the biggest hit.
Italy didn't take a big hit. Italy has a very low mortality rate. Yeah, it's like a basic.
Took the biggest hit.
If I wanted to, attack a nation, if I wanted to attack a nation, this is simple military strategics. I would not put everything I have into New York City. I'd hit Italy, I hit Dubai, I hit Delhi, and then spread it to the point where I wanted to get hit. And look at the percentage of the Chinese population in New York City. And I'll stop. I want to listen to everybody else. I just want knowledge.
Okay.
I'll shut my mouth for the rest of the session.
I'm so glad you brought up this because this has been weighing on a lot of people's minds. I get messages day and night about this from people. Kim, what do you think? Are they trying to attack us? And I don't have anyone of your experience to share that. This is the first time we've had somebody with your experience to share this, because you bring in the level of your experience with facts. It's what I always say. We need to put these cards on the table and evaluate them all. There's a lot going on. We don't have 100% ground zero. We don't have 100% facts from any one place. So we just put them all on the table and we sort it out and figure it out. And there we have Lynn. Namaste.
Yeah,
we lost Dr. Gupta again. So
disagree.
Namaste.
At least for my Indian friends, I will give them credit for Modi. Modi took prompt action, unlike Trump.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Lynn, anyway, what's going on with the dollar store?
The dollar store is a great place to buy stuff online, to have stuff delivered to your house. But here's the unfortunate part. We're now sold out of dust masks, and we're sold out of disposable gloves. So, but we have lots of other stuff. We're in the process of restocking the dust masks and the gloves. So just stay tuned. What happens is they won't let you, they won't put them up on the site unless we have them. So anyway, but the good news is that the dollar store still believes very strongly, and I do, very especially, in the mission of Money Masters, which is why I'm donating half of the profit from my store to Money Masters. So
wow, thank you so much.
Yeah,
we're just so honored that you have chosen us, because you could pick anybody. And what you offer is amazing. Look, folks, if you're teaching kids at home and you need some school supplies, it's the dollar store. You spend $25 and you get free shipping. You got dollar rewards. I mean, how easy is this? You don't have to drive anywhere. It's all there. They've got toys, really interesting toys for kids. If you just want to order a few toys for them, puzzles and little knickknacks for them to play with, little rewards. But seriously, I mean, and if you need soaps, they got soaps, they've got toothpaste, they've got CBD products if you just want to try those out. But it's a inexpensive way to do your shopping. They've got beauty supplies, girls. They've got those masks that you pay $15 for at the counter. They got them at the dollar store, and you don't have to drive anywhere to get them. And it's this really nice, really cool mask where the eyes are cut out and you put it on your face. So there's, while you're down, do some of these things. Do you got hair color yet? I haven't looked. Do you have hair color?
I'm not into looking for hair colors personally. I would rather they had a razor because
they do have razors. They do have razors.
No, I'm talking about one that I can use on my hair so I don't have to grow a ponytail. But although I've always wanted to have a ponytail.
They have hair trimmers. Hold on just a second. I just saw it.
Hair trimmers.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
have
there you go. They do, and I forgot about that. Well, that's okay.
Here you go. So it's a good thing we had this talk today. Here you go, folks. Look.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. See, but I'm looking for the ponytail. So actually, I was just kidding.
Okay.
But I will mention one thing with the CBD. We just put patches on yesterday on the website. So arm patches, which help to reduce pain, and so that's new. You can find that in the just go to the CBD supplements, and there's more coming. So
check it out. Wow, I kind of like the patches. Sometimes if I've had to use patches for some of my pain when they're wanting to give me lidocaine. And it works. I mean, it's not as good as the shots, but it can work. And because your skin absorbs these things, and if you put them where the pain is, it absorbs them to the pain. So you're getting what I call, that direct application to the pain. So awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And you can order from the dollar store by going to IBM TV and just press the dollar store. So anybody wants to order.
Button. It's the big green button on the home page.
That's the button on the home page. So anybody who's watching IBM TV, if you need to buy products delivered to you, because I did it the other day, you just go to IBM TV, press the dollar store, and they actually will deliver to your house all the products that are there. So you can still stay at home and not have issues.
They've got, 4th of July stuff, from Memorial Day stuff. They have party favors. If you want to throw a party.
I believe Henning Morales from Los Angeles has joined us also as well. So
and you want to hear from Henning. He's somebody everybody wants to hear from.
There he is, right? Yeah, from Los Angeles. He does film producing. And the thing is, we do definitely want to hear what's happening in Los Angeles, and are you able to even make any more films?
Namaste.
Well,
namaste.
Are you asking me, or is that
we're asking you because we don't know what goes on in LA. Willie Hill over there is from Australia. Ankit is from India. Lynn, is from the US. We're two from the US. So and I can bring back Rakesh. He's from Hong Kong. So we got an international audience for you.
All right, very well. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for having me on, Kim and the group. Lynn, good to see you. And we are having to keep everything very private and confidential in terms of what we're doing with our film production. We are keeping everyone informed as far as how we're moving forward with things. Obviously, we had to cut things way back and postpone the bigger scenes, but we're still heavy duty in the editing room. And we have now 4 editors working on projects that probably would have taken till the rest of the summer to edit. And now going to be done before you know it. And it's actually, we're making good use of the time. Let's put it that way.
Okay. We had a friend of yours from Los Angeles on last week, Robert Kravitz, who did a show called Faith, Hope, and Love. I don't know if you've seen it on Netflix. It's actually really good. So you may want to put it down on your list. Anyway, he produced it, directed it, called Faith, Hope, and Love. I watched it on Netflix and I was going, wow, it's a good show, which is unusual. And so we actually brought him on and he told us about what's going on in Los Angeles. He said for him, for the most part, he has a 2-year contract to produce shows for Netflix, is that they're down. In other words, he's been writing shows because he can't produce them. Is that happening to you? Are you not filming right now?
Yeah, pretty much in Los Angeles, things are quiet. Everybody is doing what they believe they need to do to keep themselves healthy, and it's understandable. But at the same time, I'm encouraging people to do what they can within the rules, within the guidelines that have been set down by the mayor and also by the powers that be in the various counties. So for now, it's pretty much quiet, and I understand where Mr. Kravitz is coming from. That now is the time to get creative with writing and editing and what I've been coaching my tribe on. I produce inspirational, motivational, transformational type films, crime stories mixed with motivational stories, mixed with love stories, and it's all combined in that kind of genre, that world. And I have a group of educators, a group of mentors, coaches who have really been part of our tribe. Kimberly being one of them. Kimberly, I met at the Sundance Film Festival and back last year when we were screening one of our movies, and it's she came with us on set at USC, and I have kind of this group that is very inspirational minded and also very, very intellectual and in the academic sense, very accomplished. And I've just been encouraging everyone to continue to spread positivity, continue to be positive with the people around you. You're setting the example for your family members, for your tribe, for your kids, and try and continue to produce as much as you can while we're having to spend this much time at home. And at the same time, whatever you can do outside, do it. And we're all intelligent and conscious and smart people. I'm a healthy person. I teach my kids to be healthy. I teach classes on health also. We're actually I do have something to talk about. We actually are producing a health and wellness documentary with a cooking show built into it, and we're filming that actually this Thursday. Pretty cool. We'll be filming that. So just be smart about what you're doing. But as I was overhearing, as I logged on this morning, we can all research the information. Kimberly is one of the smartest people I know, and I'm sure if you're hanging out with Kimberly, that means that you guys are up here, right? Intellectually. And, she's like, I got this degree, I got that degree, I'm lecturing here. That's pretty cool. So, we're all smart people. Let's be smart about what we do, but at the same time, we have to be able to move forward with our lives as the situation allows us to be.
Right, and you're a Hollywood producer, right? And so the thing is, and we have a big following in India. Ankit heads up our health channel out of New Delhi, and Rakesh is in Hong Kong, and of course Willie's in Australia. My question is, have you ever heard of a guy named Shadow Khan by any chance? You're a Hollywood producer. I
don't know that I know Shadow. He's right there. Actually, I do know he's right there. He's right.
No. He's not there. He's not there. Okay. I was telling. Okay, Ankit tells me Shadow Khan is the biggest name in Bollywood in India. The biggest.
I just by his name alone, I want to meet him. I want to meet him.
Right. And I told him.
It's not about the biggest name, but he's one of the richest actor in the world.
He's an actor. He's one of the wealthiest people in the world.
And also, and Shah Rukh Khan, when you talk about Shah Rukh Khan, so with that, 1.3 billion people also joined Shah Rukh Khan.
Wow.
India.
Right. Well. See, this is what I was trying to say. This is the disconnect. And I told Ankit, I said they don't even know him in the United States, and which is true.
Let's get him in. Let's put him in.
He's a no name. But when I was talking to Robert, I said, look, okay, if you're doing a film today, you need to incorporate Indian actors or parts into your film to capture that 1.3 billion viewership. I mean, some people they think, well, United States is the only market. Now, wait a minute. The United States is a big market, but it represents only 15.8% of the gross domestic product in the world. 15.8%. Well, where's the other 85%? It's all over the world. And India has a big chunk of potential viewers, which is one reason IBM TV.
Well, Nick, if you could put that deal together, just make sure that Kimberly's involved, and let's make it deal.
We'll make it happen. And it's all about money. Ankit never pulled out the dollar until after he was on the show with us.
Yeah, we trained him. We trained him about the American way, and he started pulling out the dollars. So he started understanding.
All right.
Shadow Khan is the biggest name in India, and I researched him on Wikipedia because I go, I don't even know who the guy is, and he's right. He's the big name in India that no one's heard of, but Bollywood respects and India respects American movies. I mean, if you want to know the biggest market in the world, it's go to India. Now, we had a discussion earlier about China, but you're kind of blocked there. So, Rakesh, we're not going to worry about China for right now. The biggest market in the world right now is India. And because of what's happening in COVID-19, we just pulled the new figures on the GDP. India is predicted to move up in the GDP up to 7% positive next year. Okay, so and in case you don't know, IBM has more people working in India than they do in the United States, and the chairman of the board is from India. So if you're the way I look at it, if you're ignoring India, and they're nice enough to speak English, which helps us out a lot. Okay, let's go. China, I got to go through Mandarin.
What would be interesting to me, ever since we started these conversations with India, is Nick and I, and definitely we're going to travel and visit everyone when this is over that are on our board of advisors, because they're all over the world. But I want to end it in India, and I want to have a wedding in India. I want to film a wedding in India. It sounds so beautiful. I've spoke with them. The amount of energy and families that tell them how many people come to a wedding.
In terms of numbers, we have 1,000 to 10,000 people join the wedding. And the wedding, if you are talking about big fat Indian wedding, so it can go over for 7 days.
7-day wedding.
With maybe 20 different functions and 20 different dresses, and maybe 500,000 or maybe $1 million spending as well.
Yeah, and it's real cheap to go round trip there. You can go like round trip to Delhi for $800. But the thing is, you have to be able to get into the country because
we are not inviting anyone right now. We are not inviting anyone.
No Americans. Yeah. We're not allowed in.
But no, anybody. even
here's the difference. In the United States, AMC, I don't know if they filed yet, is going to file for bankruptcy. All the theaters here are going under. So if you want to go on the theater here, forget it. It's over. But if you want to go to the theater of India, because the economy didn't shut down, when they opened back up, because they didn't get affected that bad, you can be in the theaters in India. I'm going, well, this is a natural, is to mix the Hollywood with Bollywood. But to give you an idea, Ankit, that Hollywood doesn't know Bollywood, the biggest star in India, the Hollywood producers don't even know who they are.
I have a question for Anik, basically. In terms of AMC, how many screens, if you want to release a movie, suppose the Hollywood movie is coming up in America, how many screens you cover in first week? Any idea how many screens you show the movie?
We're showing our movies online primarily. At this point, we haven't been in the theaters yet, but 10,000 screens is considered a large scale, release, the theatrical release. The next film we're in pre-production now. We're just getting ready to shoot in September, October is going to be a theatrical release. So we're hoping to get to 10,000. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, fantastic. So
because in India, I think we have screens around 20,000-25,000 screens.
You know what? I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
And we start at 9 in the morning.
This is why I wanted you on this show with us eventually, because I wanted you to see all of this global business and just energy. There's just so much energy.
Right. And they love American movies.
They love American songs. They love
American movies.
But Henning, something else I wanted to tell you guys that I noticed, even though AMC looks like it's closing down, but I noticed that somebody's trying to reinstitutionalize our drive-in theaters. You know, we drive in a car, we stay in our car, we watch the movies. It was very romantic back in the day, but I saw some posts on it. There's still a few that exist in the United States, by the way, so a few in North Carolina that I'm aware of. But I thought that was interesting to bring back the drive-ins. I thought
good point. Yeah, the drive-ins should be able to work. You know, because I was trying to figure out how are they going to morph, because ultimately they're going to have to morph here in the United States. AMC looks like they're going to file bankruptcy, and then all the other media companies are lined up to file bankruptcy. I don't know if it's going to be a liquidation or reorganization. They have $4.9 billion in debt. So most of the AMC theaters are built on a mountain of debt. They're not really financially strong. And so I don't know what's going to happen here. But here's what we do know. Here's what we do know. India is a big market, and they speak English, and they can all afford to pay to go watch a movie, and they love Hollywood movies. I mean,
how many movies does Hollywood make in a year?
How many movies do you make in a year in Hollywood? You didn't think you'd have all these questions.
I don't know. It's got to be a lot, though. I don't have the. You guys are stumping me with these questions.
No, I don't know the answer. That's what you have a computer.
I'm just trying to fact checking with you to compare the numbers. What we are doing in Hollywood and compared to what we are doing in India, because in India we have Bollywood and then we have regional industries as well. And I don't have the numbers, but we do more than 500 movies a year.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe 1,000 a year as well, with maybe 7 to 10 different languages.
Right. Well, I'm very No, I'm very interested. Since
English is one of the premier movies what we have shown, not only in English but in different languages.
Yeah. I'm sincerely interested in carrying on dialogue. I'm very open to that. In our films, we have the Dirt Merchants film series is a 10-part series of films that are geared towards the young adult. That's where it all started. My first novel, which is called The Dirt Merchants. And believe it or not, I signed it for you.
I had to go out there to get it, though.
There you go. Right. So believe it or not, that simple novel that Kim just showed y'all has turned into 10 screenplays, and it also, because each of the characters, and it's all based on true events, true stories. They takes place in the 1980s and the 1990s, and they're really special to me personally, because these are stories of either yours truly or friends of mine as well. And these things really happened, and there's tremendous life lessons that we teach in these stories, which is how the school connection is where the school connection takes place. And one of the things I think is important, you mentioned, Nick, about the theaters. I think that the theaters right now are really feeling the pain of several years of just basically featuring one type of movie, the big Hollywood blockbuster. Mm-hmm. And what we do is something very different. Now, it's not for everyone, but for the people who really are in that genre, the young adult population, these millennials who we basically cater to, and they're conscious and personal development oriented parents, coaches, teachers, what have you, who are in Gen X, right? Right. They dig it a lot, and the reason is that we don't use the violence, the heavy duty violence, and the fantasy oriented storylines that these films traditionally, the theatrical release related films normally carry with them. If you think of the blockbuster movies in the past several years, you can go back probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years. You're dealing with time travel, space invaders, Star Wars. You're dealing with vampires, mummies. You're dealing with violence, machine gun violence, and gratuitous bloodshed. And these things, again, we don't do any of that in our movies. And you're like, well, how do you entertain people without using all those things? Well,
a good storyline, maybe.
What's that?
A good storyline, maybe.
Yeah, we tell stories, exactly. It's the stories, and also it's the visual. If you can create a visual experience that's not special effects, we don't use any special effects in our movies, believe it or not. And when you're editing these things, you want to film for effect. And then lastly, it's music. Mm-hmm. It's music, and we have original music. We have a 14-time platinum music producer who's our music director, and he's been on all of our movies. He signed up for all 10 of our Dirt Merchants Films movies. We've finished 5 of them now, and so Drew Lane is.
You're a writer too. You're a writer too, a music writer. You've done some music writer.
Oh, well, we should introduce you to a hot commodity from South Africa.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were on a roll, but
it's okay.
No, but I just want the world to know that some of the music is from you too.
Kim, we should introduce him. We should introduce him to Alexander May, the hot commodity from South Africa.
I'll have him on our show.
Okay, you got to meet this lady. She is.
All right, I'm open, okay. and that's how we built this, Nick. Yeah. And we built our tribe, and we built these films based on relationships, and it's all it's a group of people that really want to make this happen, including our actors who are really, really motivated. That's a children's book I wrote. He's got all my books there. It's called The Big Brain Bunch, and it's an inspiration. Those are my twins. They're downstairs in class. They're on class on their computers downstairs. And my writing partner's daughter.
These are great books, guys. Inspirational.
Yeah.
Healthy.
Thank you.
Well, I will send you Alexander May. She is a hot commodity in South Africa. And South Africa has 57 million people.
An interview on her show. She's starting a new show on IBM TV called Alexander May's Musical Cafe. And it's
yeah, but she's
in South Africa. She's starting a TV show from South Africa and piping it into IBM TV.
Nice.
So yeah,
South Africa has 57 million people. It's bigger than the state of California.
Wow. I'm learning all these things, Nick. I mean, I know that you between you and Kimberly, you got like 18 degrees. I know you guys are just like. I'm trying to keep up. I'm taking my notes.
Yeah. It's all about the numbers. Okay. I mean, it's all.
That's why Nick and I work well together. What he doesn't have, I have. And what
I go to India because they have 1.3 billion people.
Right.
I mean, I go to Australia, but they only have 24 million. But then you go to South Africa. Well, they have 57 million.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
She's the hottest commodity out of Johannesburg.
She speaks English.
She speaks English.
Yeah.
Well, she speaks English. Yeah, she comes to Nashville. That's how I met her.
You got to check her out, Henning. I mean, the thing is, you got to and grab the 57 million people. You got to grab the 57 million.
Interview on her show, but I met her in Nashville when I was recording my song in Nashville, and we became good friends. She flew in from South Africa.
She's a singer.
She's a singer. I'm not the singer.
And she's hot. So
but I have fun. So, but she is the talented one. But I will tell you this. Henning is having a watch party tonight, right, Henning?
Oh yeah, yes we are.
So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that. Here's what we've been doing. Thank you. Rakesh had something to say, I think.
Yeah, Rakesh.
I was just a thought struck me, and I wanted to know. Your company, because I want to look at your movies too.
You can look at. Okay, thank you. I can type it in here? Can I type it in here? It's DM Trilogy. It's real simple. DMTrilogy.com. That's where you see about our movies. And
we'll put it up.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Put it up.
Yeah. Okay. So D like Dirt, M like Merchants, Trilogy.com, and you'll see trailers and some clips and different things there. And what Kimberly was asking about was the screenings. These have been really something special. We had before all the craziness began, we had a screening of our film Street Chase. We had it set in Beverly Hills at a theater, and as we got closer to the date, it was March something. It was as we got closer to the date. And things started getting close, and we're getting closer. We're like, should we really do this screening? And things weren't shut down yet, but it was the writing was on the wall, and we were going to do it anyway because people were like, we're going to go see this movie, and we had all the friends and family and the actors and the cast and the crew and everything, and we decided not to do the theatrical screening. And we did an online screening where we screened the movie online, and we would have had about 100 people at the live screening. We had over 200 on the online screening, and the ability for everyone's friends and family to watch it around, the country, different parts of the world. And so that was pretty cool. So we decided to do a Tuesday night at the movies online screening of our films, our music videos, and those films and music videos, or short trailers and whatnot of those of our friends who've collaborated with us on the projects. So we're doing one tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time. You're all invited, and we do it on Zoom. And tonight we're not showing a particular movie, but we are going to show some exclusive scenes from some of the movies that no one has seen. Even the actors haven't seen these scenes cut. And we also have, as I mentioned, the music. I wanted to kind of bring that point home because the way we do it is every filmmaker has a toolbox. Okay, every filmmaker has a toolbox, just like whatever profession you're in. If you're a surgeon, you have your surgical instruments. If you're a painter, you have your paint brushes. If you're a filmmaker, you've got these tools that you use, and we don't use violence, extreme violence. Let's put it that way. We don't use extreme violence. We don't use fantasy. We don't use cartoons or animation. We don't use any type of a superhero type of a supernatural ability. And the reason that we don't do that is because for a couple of reasons. First of all, there's too much of that. And I'm not even saying that that's bad per se. But
it puts me to sleep. I don't like to watch Marvel. It puts me to sleep.
It's too much.
Sleep too.
Yeah, what's happening with these kids, and again, I come at this from a very different perspective because being a speaker, I was a platform keynote speaker for 10 years before I got into making movies several yeyears ago, and then that kind of morphed into coaching kids and teenagers. When my kids became teenagers and became of age to play baseball, I coached over 100 kids in baseball, and I lecture at USC sporadically. And so my perspective comes from the motivational, inspirational, transformational world, and what's good coming into the brain. And too much what I've learned from my friends who are experts at these things, Kimberly being one of them, is that it's an overwhelming amount of fantasy and violence and just too much of the overwhelming shock value of what goes into these movies for the young adult marketplace. So personally, this is what I believe, but also there's so much of it that we're over here playing all by ourselves pretty much in this space. Now, I know that there are other filmmakers who are doing similar things. But we're very excited about bringing them a platform to put their good movies on, and that is how these Tuesday night screenings tie in. Where our sponsor of our Tuesday night screenings is a platform called RevShare Films, and it's a platform for conscious films, inspirational, motivational type movies let me give you an example. It's more like Rocky or The Blind Side versus, Marvel. You see the difference?
And it's a lot more. We talked about this last week as well. It's a lot more cost effective in many, many ways. But here's something that has always been impressive to me is when you get the real actors involved, they don't even have to say much. A look, that moment, that wait, that's real acting. All of the other stuff, I have to agree with Rakesh, eventually just puts me to sleep. I hate saying this. I love Star Wars movies, but I slept through them the first 2 or 3 times I watched them.
I just look at the math. Okay, I don't.
Of course, I worked 3 jobs at the time, and I was fortunate. I was like, "Oh, a dark place. I'm going to sleep." But through all that noise and boom and I had to watch it 3 times.
Just look at what you got to do is look at the math on those movies. They spend $1 million a minute.
Yeah, Nick counts it too.
On a Marvel
$1 million,
$1 million a minute. I never miss a minute of a Marvel movie because I go, there goes $1 million, there goes $2 million, there goes $3 million. Next time you watch those movies, realize.
Let's talk about
numbers.
Let's talk about numbers. Yeah, let's talk about numbers for Nick for a second here. This is for Nick. You can make if you make a film, and again, this is a lot of this common sense and coming out of the business world. For us, it makes sense. But filmmakers, a lot of these filmmakers are creative people. They're not really experienced in the business world and how dollars and cents work. But if we can make a movie that would cost us $20 million, we literally would have to make. Because it's $20 million budget, Nick, to make the movie, and then it's another $20 million to promote the movie because the promotional budgets match the production budget. So now a $20 million movie becomes a $40 million budget. How much money do you think you need to earn to make that worthwhile for the investors? It's probably 70, 80, or $90 million you would need to make back on that movie, and that's why these bigger budget movies are the way they are, because they appeal to that mass marketplace of people who are going to go to the movies. They're going to spend the money, and they've got to recoup that money. But keep in mind also that those studios are spending just as much on advertising. So what if we could make, for $20 million, what if we could make 20 movies that cost $1 million? We can make 20 movies that cost. Now, some of my movies are more than $1 million, but just to give you a round number, if we make 20 movies that are $1 million, we can get to that same audience because we have 20 movies. So it's 20 times the exposure. And guess what? We don't need to make 80, 70, 80, 90 million dollars on each film. We can, if for $1 million budget, let's say we spend $1 million on marketing, we only need to make 5 million or 6 million to make it really worthwhile for the investors. So it makes it much more feasible to work in that space versus in the crowded theatrical space. So what we're doing on Tuesdays is that we are showcasing for our tribe, not only our films, but films that from our friends that are conscious and positive and important, and we have the base for that right now. And as we launch this platform together with our sponsors, we're planning to launch in September with at least a few hundred movies and an influencer marketing component that is very, very different and unique. And so, yeah, go ahead. Question?
No, I was go on, Anka.
So, Henning, when you say that you can make movies with $1 million on an average, basically, when you plan a movie, do you plan a movie in terms of the market or in terms of the storyline? I mean, because some movies can be planned in terms of market size as well. Let's suppose today we thought that let's make a movie for Indian America, and we have around 1.6 billion people to cater that movie.
Look, the answer is you always do both, and this is where, again, some people they in my opinion, you get my humble opinion today. I've only made 5 movies. I've only wrote 10 scripts. So it's, I'm kind of a new kid on the block. You get in my opinion, but I'm a student of the industry. I'm a student of the great writers and directors. And again, I'm not putting down these other movies. I'm not saying that Star Wars is a bad movie. I'm not saying that Marvel is bad. What I'm saying is for what we're doing, we're not doing any of that, is what I'm saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, I know that too much of that, you have to limit it for the kids. You have to limit the amount of this just extreme entertainment. And it's not just movies, it's TV, it's music, it's social media, it's video games. You have to limit, because otherwise these kids are going crazy. I'm telling you, they're going crazy. So, and I got a 2 11-year-olds. So I can tell you about them going crazy.
You can only eat so much junk food.
Right. And that, you can, exactly. And that's same thing. Same thing with
you have to give them some decent.
Same exact thing. So, getting back to the question, I've learned from the masters that you always do both. But here's what's key. What's key is that for our films are universal in appeal. They're universal in appeal because they deal with the questions and issues that we all face when we come of age. And some of us, nobody on this line here, because you guys are all conscious, good, positive people, I can tell. But some people, they never grow up. They never grow up. They never get to a point of responsibility in their lives where they're going to be citizens. They're going to join the citizens of the world and be good people and contribute to their communities and to their tribes and their families. Some people never get there. So when we talk about films for young adults, we're talking about for ourselves, right? Yeah. But because we cover these issues and we're telling these profound stories, the stories are universal because they deal with crime and your temptation to get into not just. And again, the criminal world in our stories are all true stories. The mobster stories, and we have all kinds. We don't discriminate. We got the Italian mafia, we got the Puerto Rican mafia, we got the Irish mafia, we got the Jewish mafia. The only one that we don't have the Indian mafia. We don't have that.
But you missed 1.3 billion people.
Yeah, Russian mafia.
Yeah, we don't have the Russians yet, because remember, this is we're talking about a time period. But my point is that we don't use these as the interesting parts of the story. The interesting parts of the story are the characters and how they either give in to that temptation or choose the high road or the low road. So these stories are universal. They're about decisions we make. They're about personal development. And I've learned, because I've spoken all over the world. When I was a speaker, I traveled everywhere. I haven't been to India, so I shouldn't say everywhere. I haven't been to India, but I've been to a lot of other places, including the Asian countries, South American countries, Europe. The lessons, and I know this because Deepak Chopra is one of my mentors from afar, and he's one of the people who I have studied for 25 years. So a medical doctor who becomes an inspirational master is enough for me, right? So my father was a medical doctor, and so I come from a family of doctors, and so the health side of things is when I heard his story, I've been a fan for forever, and I understand. A lot of the principles that we teach in personal development are based in India. They're based out of the Indian tradition. So the stories are universal, to answer your question. And before all the craziness happened, we did sign a letter of intent to do a joint production in China. We did sign an agreement. One of the movies that we already filmed is being recreated in China in Chinese with Chinese actors. Okay, so we're because the stories again are so universal. Yes, we in that case we would adapt it for the Chinese marketplace. If you're doing a movie in Chinese, and some people say, "Well, how would you direct a movie like that?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know how I would direct. I guess I would need. Excuse me. I guess I would need some help because I don't know what they're saying. Right? I don't know if they're saying over the lines, right?"
Hey, I got you going live action. You don't need any. We could do the hinting hop, right?
Right. You were there, I remember that. Yes.
Well,
that is universal language right there, hitting.
The reason I like India is they're nice enough to speak English. They do so in South Africa. They speak English.
I wouldn't have to have that problem. I wouldn't have
to have a problem. And then in Australia, we got Willie Hill. They speak English. And in Canada, where Sasha just joined us from Canada. They speak English, but Canada also, he speaks Russian, so he does both. So anyway, that's the whole point, is that you have some huge markets over there, and the American market is only 15.3%.
Yeah.
And so 85%, every time and I know we focus completely on the United States here, but I'm saying, if you miss the world today, you miss the world.
Well, right now, the economics of the U.S. is not where you want to 100%.
Put all your marbles.
Of course,
ridiculous. The thing is,
so getting back to the question of the writing, you don't really write the script for that, and you don't write it for budget either. I think that's a mistake. My mentors, the masters at screenwriting, the people that I study, their advice is you write your story and take your financial hat off. Even take your business hat off when you're writing that story. Don't think about, because you have a tendency when you're writing, if I'm writing a scene, am I going to write it? I can write it with helicopters, coming in, or I can write it with, a beat up old junker coming in. It's going to affect the budget by like $1 million. So if it's a helicopter, it's a helicopter, and then, so the story has to be what the story is. And for me, it's pretty much a natural process to write the stories, because I'm just interweaving things that already happened. The characters are real people. They exist. They're alive. Some of them are no longer with us, but we have, because of personal knowledge, you create the characters based on real people. So you don't really write for the budget. You write your script, and then when you're finished with the script, then you say, okay, how much is this thing going to cost? It's, hey, you just wrote a $50 million, budget movie. I think you should adjust your script, and then you can bring it down.
I think your stories could be lovely episodes on TV as well. I've seen you film. I know it's a lot of work. I also know what level of work you put into your filming, which is just phenomenal. And the people love you on set, which that's one of the things I liked about being on set with you, is how much everybody loved working with you. And again, you are at a position now, I guess, where you can do a lot of editing, right? I guess that's what's happening now is that your team is putting in the efforts to editing, but we're focused on September.
Well, September is the launch for RevShare Films, the release of at least 3 of our movies. We did a pre-release of 2 movies, which were very useful for us, or a limited release, I should say, very useful for us to get feedback, which is helping us with the editing and post-production process right now. So the release of 3 of my films, we're looking at summer, but the platform is going to go live in September. That's our goal. And we are recruiting filmmakers. We're recruiting influencers. We're recruiting advisory board members, and we're also recruiting marketers, people who know how to mass communicate. And we don't look at borders. Everything we do is global. Our movies are in English, but you just translate. We did before. Again, it's crazy how all this happens. Right before all the craziness, we signed a deal to do a joint production in China, of all places. And we just came back from shooting 7 days in Italy, of all places.
I remember. We were trying to get the books. I remember that. Yeah.
People are so interested in creating these films. We had filmmakers. We had a screening in Italy in Via Reggio, and one of the beautiful theaters there. And if you want to find out more about this, you can go on our Facebook. You'll see all the behind the scenes and everything that happened in Italy with an Italian film crew, which was also interesting. Is when a couple of them don't speak English at all, and you have to advise, direct them on what to do. Maybe we'll show that process. There's a whole behind the scenes thing, and me talking to the camera people and the lighting people, and that was crazy. Italian actors who don't speak English, that type of thing. So we had so much interest from these filmmakers in Italy, and one of our shooters was actually a professor in Florence at the Florence Film School, and he's a big part of the Florence Film Festival. We had a huge plan to go back to Italy soon to do more things. So we're not, obviously things happen for a reason, and we're just looking to take advantage of the timing right now, finishing our editing and getting our films, Kimberly, to a point where you're not going to recognize the movies. And I can see now how if you spend the time, and again, this takes time and money. Sometimes you make a movie, say that's our movie, get it out, we're going on the next one. But if you have time to go back and go through it, you're not gonna recognize the films. You can do so much with it without using special effects, without using any trickery, and without compromising the storyline. And I think it was Kimberly who said, the actors are the key, guys. And again, I know this wasn't the question, but I want to make sure that some of our people are listening and watching. Our actors, man, when you see these kids act, and they're all young kids, some of them are teenagers. Our lead in the last two movies is 19. The second lead is 18. And so these are young kids. We're doing the Anhero. We're filming the suicide prevention film. Kimberly, we're filming in June. Wow. And the lead is a 16-year-old boxer. He's a boxer. He's training for the Olympics. All right. He's a Golden Gloves level boxer, right? At 16. And these kids, they're amazing. And I think that because they're so into the story and so into the message, the personal development message, they relate to the lines that they're saying. I've never read anything like this. Well, because you're reading for mummies and vampires and zombies, right? You've got to. This is real, right? This is real. And you might have to learn a little bit more oomph because it's not about the action; it's more about the delivery. But the actors are so amazing, and happy to be here. Happy to be with you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
One of the things I want to add, though, is I think it's you giving them great direction and inspiration, because I've seen you talk to them and share to feel it. And you even get in there and do it with them, and you act it out, and you get excited, and that gets them excited, and it feeds into their passion, which, I haven't seen acting like that in many, many years. I mean, a long time. And I'm glad to see it come back. It's just, and I can't wait for the party tonight. I kind of set aside my schedule so I can do the watch party tonight. And I'm excited about that. I would love to do the watch party like we did with Sasha's chess game. Sasha has this really cool chess game. I think we're going to do it again in the near future, where you get crowns and you get to guess each move with your crowns and win money. And kind of gambling, but not. It makes it fun, right? It makes just fun. But you've got quite a thing going. I'm going to get my popcorn and probably tea, because I'm drinking a lot of tea now, and sit back and watch.
And I'll get you together with Alexander May, but you just got to give me a minute, because I got to sign an agent's contract with her first. Then I'll get.
Get the paperwork done.
Line him up. So you're already lined up, Penny. Alexander's going to get you.
I would like to understand, when you talk about and when you make a film, some films don't work because of the excess of budget. Because of the budget, they don't get that much amount of screen, and the film don't do well in terms of commercial success. But the films are good critically. So how do you take those movies? And also, there are a lot of movies like Gravity, which you spend around $100 million to make that movie. And we in India, we send a Mars orbiter mission, which it cost $74 million for us to send something to. So I'm just trying to understand why the budget is way higher in Hollywood as compared to other
here's
industries around.
Yeah, again, I'm not an expert at the big budget filmmaking process, because we don't do it that way. But from what I do know, there's two ways to approach your film when you're just getting it developed. The studios do it a certain way, and they're doing it for a big budget and a big return. So a studio can have 3 or 4 movies that either break even or don't make money, but then the 4th or the 5th one, they do the big hit. And with that big hit, it's not just the money that they make on the movie. And Toy Story is a good example of this. They might have had, way back when Toy Story was, first coming out, before people knew about that and whatnot. Pixar had probably made 4 or 5 other movies that maybe broke even or didn't do so well. Then all of a sudden they had one major hit, which was Toy Story. And what that does, they not only did they make, and again, I don't know the budgets or the numbers, but these are big budget movies. These are millions and millions of dollars. These are animated films, which are that much more complicated to make and whatnot. These are theatrical releases, big budget. And on that one movie, now they'll make a profit. But what spurred out of that one movie, it created like $1 billion because they made another one, and they sell the toys, and they sell the TV show, and then they sell the other merchandise and the shirts and the hats and everything else. So the lunch boxes. So that's what the studios. That's why here in Burbank, all the studios are still there. They're making more money than ever, no matter what anybody says. They're making more money than ever before. They have the biggest land in all of Los Angeles, which is like the most expensive real estate in the United States, aside from New York and maybe a couple other places. They got spread out studios. They got sound stages. They're doing very well because of that. Now, that's how the studios operate. Yeah. As far as the indie filmmaker, that's where I like to focus on, because I'm not really, maybe after 10 movies, we'll start doing big studio movies, maybe. But here's what I tell the young filmmakers that they need to focus on, because there is a place for independent filmmakers, a huge place and a huge need, because those blockbuster movies, even though I like Toy Story personally, but but I saw Toy Story way back, right? When my big kids were little, I made a deal with my 11-year-olds, right? I'm not watching any more cartoons. No more cartoons. I'm done. No more animated movies, right? They're like, come on, Dad, just one. No. So for the past 2 years, and they're probably listening downstairs right now, interrupted their whole flow, I won't watch cartoons. So what about the rest of us who don't want the big superheroes or the big blockbuster movies? And it doesn't appeal anymore. It's like you outgrow it. Just like you outgrow candy, some of us don't outgrow candy, but you outgrow certain things. You want more out of life, right? And that's where this kind of Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime kind of come into play, where now there's alternatives. There are alternatives for all that big budget Hollywood stuff. And a lot of those things Netflix, there you go. A lot of those things those films, they never again, some of them are not even films. Kimberly mentioned about the TV series. And so you have this alternative way to go. And it started with The Sopranos, and in my opinion, and that's 20 years ago, and then it built up to everything you see now on TV. So there's a huge market for those indie filmmakers and TV producers. But for today in 2020, what's the key? The key is to build up your audience. The filmmakers of today need to have an audience. They need to have a tribe. They need to have a following, and they need to make movies for that tribe. Just like the audience for Breaking Bad is a different audience than for The Sopranos, or a different audience than is for maybe a love story or something along those lines. The filmmakers need to build up their audience and keep making productions for that audience and monetize that production. And it could be monetization through theaters, could be through Netflix or Hulu or one of those guys, or it could be a direct form of distribution. And that's what's going to help filmmakers make money. It's very different from even 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. You didn't see these platforms like you do today. It was really only Netflix, and they were just coming up only 5 years ago. So this has happened recently. So what I tell the young filmmakers is, look, I'll help you, I'll mentor you, I'll coach you, I'll tell, but let's put your movies on our platform, because we have like a business system for you to monetize your content and put it other places. You don't have to put it only on our system. It's not anything exclusive. It doesn't cost you any money, because again, a lot of these things, these are people coming out of film school. They have one movie maybe, and they're in debt $50,000 or whatever. They're sleeping on their mom's couch. You understand that these are young people, right? That are just coming out into the marketplace. But I'll tell you what.
And they need a plan.
Yeah, but I tell you what, there's so much good quality content, and that we won't see because they don't have it. They don't have a chance, and they don't have a Netflix deal. And again, when you and I love all these companies. It's not I'm not putting it down. Netflix is the biggest, the best, the most successful. Nick has the book, so he knows all about it and how it goes. I'm not one of these people that say, oh, if they're a big studio, they're bad, or if they're a big billion-dollar company, they're bad. I think that's great. What I'm saying is that there's only when you watch Netflix, it's limited. You're seeing limited. There's a lot there, but it's still pretty much try to find a show on Netflix for teenagers, for young adults. That's a positive oriented show. Try and find one. Okay, I'm trying because I research. I'm trying to find what are the kids watching that I can pull from, and I can't find it. And it's the same thing with Hulu and Prime. It's very hard to find, right? Because they're still catering to in my opinion, and we're probably going over time here, and we're getting on a whole different.
Don't worry about it.
They're catering. Look, we all have two sides to our human psyche, right? There's the positive and the negative. There's the lazy and the aggressive work ethic. There's the good and the bad. It's like, remember in the old days, they used to have like the things where the devil was on one side, the angel was on the other side. Do they have that in India? They have that. I don't know what you call it, right? This is what all of the spiritual texts talk about from the beginning time. Old Testament, New Testament, Quran, all of the Buddhist philosophies. You have a choice to make with the positive and the negative. And what's happening in all of these areas that I covered is that this content is catering to the negative side of our psyche, and it's feeding that. And there isn't enough content that's feeding the positive side to move us to a better place. And that's where we come in. We say, look, you can still entertain people because, again, the mindset is, well, yeah, you're going to create this really good content, but it's not going to be entertaining. No one's going to watch it. That's not true. There's very good content. And if you would look at some of the biggest movies, I mentioned Blindside, I mentioned Rocky, Pursuit of Happiness. There's lots of movies that you can point to that have, and the early Disney movies. Remember the Cinderellas and the Sleeping Beauties and the early ones that were all positive. There was there was an evil witch, and then there was the hero, and then there was the villains, and there was the fun. There's ways to do it without taking people to the extreme on the negative side. You can still show the negative side of things, but do it in a different way. And lastly, on this topic for young filmmakers, we have a way to coach and mentor them to their next movie. Say, look, we're going to be doing all kinds of really cool things for filmmakers, giving courses. We're going to be at all the festivals. We're planning to be at a minimum of 10 film festivals with our new movie over the spring and summer, right? That's where we were going to be. And now we're doing it online. But at the festivals, really the only place for these filmmakers, these new filmmakers to bring their content is the festivals, with the hope that they'll get some kind of distribution deal or somebody will recognize them, recognize the process. But there's thousands of submissions, and we know because the film festivals are partnered up with us on the festival owners. If you start a film festival, you got to love movies. You got to love movies. And for the most part, they're conscious and good people for the most part. And they feel bad, the people who run these festivals, that today there was 10,000 submissions to my festival. I can only show 20 movies. What about the other 9,900 movies that they're not even going to get seen, right? And then now there's different ways you put it online, you put it here, put there, but there's ways to monetize. We're showing ways to monetize these budget productions so that filmmaker can make another movie. And you'll be so surprised as to where, like, you don't know where the next Spielberg is going to come from, or the next Oprah Winfrey, or the next whatever, whoever, Scorsese or Tarantino. You don't know where they're going to come from, but they're out there. And some of these people are making movies. I tell you, they're making movies that blow mine away in terms of like the production, the things that they're doing. And now some of them are in the genres that we talked about that are not necessarily the most positive, but a lot of them are in a positive vein. and they're so talented. And because you get that young blood, Nick, and there's something about that young rising star where they're bringing a fresh new idea. Right. And that's what's going to really make a difference, I believe, in the collective psyche. The collective human psyche is going to be more of the positive, feeding the positive side of our mentality. And then when you feed one, then the other suffers a little bit. And that's where that's my role, and that's the role of what I believe these young filmmakers. They need to be looking at that, and most of them are. Most of these millennials, they're different from us back then. Again, you're younger than us. You're younger than us, but those of us who are Gen Xers, man, these young, they got it together. Like my daughter buys metal straws. You know,
yeah.
So because she doesn't want the straws going in the garbage, right? Because I can use my straws, right? And I stopped using straws as my daughter. They think about these things. When I was 19 years old, I didn't think about metal straws or or anything to do with the environment. What's that? I'm gonna go make my money, right? So yeah, calculator out, right, Nick? So here's the bottom line is this. The bottom line is this: a filmmaker can make movies on any budget. Right? Can make movies on any budget. You're limited to what you can do with your restrictions on your budget. Yeah, if you had an unlimited budget, Tarantino's last movie was 90 million, right? That was the budget, and it wasn't a special effects. It was a drama, right? Action drama. And so, if I had $90 million to make a movie, yeah, I'm like, okay, I could do a lot of things too. Not that it could look as good as that, but it could look pretty good. So you're limited based on a limited budget, but make the movie that you can with the budget that you have, get it out to your tribe, build up your audience, figure out a way to monetize it. There's all kinds of ways, and in today's day and age, you got all kinds of ways to collect money, all kinds of ways to showcase your content, different platforms. There's no excuse. An 18-year-old kid with his first movie can take credit cards now, but you couldn't do that in the past. Right. So there's tools now that we're going to be sharing with people on how to do this, that and creating more tools for them. So it is possible. Make your movie, whatever the budget, get your money, focus on making money. Whoever put up money for that movie, maybe it was their parents who put the money up, right? Or maybe they just had a bunch of people do favors for them. But here's the problem with that. If you have a bunch of people doing favors for you, they're not going to go with you on your next movie if they're not paid. People only work so far for the fun of being on the set, right? You gotta make money with the movie, and this is what we want to drill in. You don't have to be an expert at it. You don't have to be like a super mogul moneymaker business type, because that's not their makeup. Their makeup is creative. So we got to be careful of that also, and just make sure that we don't intimidate. But you got to make money with your movies, otherwise you're not going to make a second or a third. And it's in that second and third movie or fourth movie, that's where you see the genius come out. You say, man, this is cool how this guy's doing it or how this gal's doing it, and you just get attracted to it, and then that will build the market even bigger, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Now, Henning, hasn't Hollywood lost their stranglehold on the entertainment industry? I mean, for years it's always, you got to go to Hollywood, you got to go. But wait a minute, you don't have to go to Hollywood to make a movie today. You can make it in New Zealand, you can make it in Canada, you can make it in Australia. And so
what is a TV show at home and
what is the big reason, or is there a reason today to be in Hollywood?
Here's the short answer to that is you can create content anywhere. Obviously, you can create films anywhere in the world. As far as being in Los Angeles, specifically in Hollywood, it's the amount of talent you have access to. That's what makes the difference. Okay. In the big cities where there are and again, if you were asking me as a filmmaker, I'm just giving you kind of the filmmaker answer. The talent that is that's available is unmatched. You can't. There's more talent in a 30-mile radius than there are in a lot of other places. First and foremost, and the reason for that is the studios are the major TV studios and the major production houses in the United States are in LA. That's where they are. They're actually in Burbank. Is where most of Burbank and Hollywood. So you have, that's why people are there, because that's where the That's where the jobs are, okay, primarily. And then also the music. The music industry is it's not Nashville, it's not Miami, it's LA. Okay, it's LA. The music business is LA, and that's how it's been since the 50s and 40s. And again, I'll show you the numbers. All right, I'll see the numbers. Right? The music business is LA. Doesn't mean there isn't a music business in Miami or Nashville or New York or these other places, but the music business is in LA also. And so the entertainment industry, the talent is what I'm talking about. The talent pool that's available is just unlimited. And that's where that makes a difference. So if you're making films in different parts of the United States, my suggestion is to pull the talent pools are in the big cities because they have theater and they have big music presence. And that's where you would mention the New Yorks and the Chicagos and the Miamis and the Nashvilles and the New Orleans and those type of places, right?
Right. No, I understand what you just mentioned, which were all U.S. cities. Did you hear that, Ankit?
Yeah.
There are no cities in India. And by the way, Australia, mate, down there, there are no cities in Australia. All the cities, all the cities with all the talent are in USA. So I want to make that point out to our friends in India. And
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Here's what I'm saying.
I'm trying to build that bridge to that other land called Australia and India.
I'm certain, and I know enough filmmakers in other countries, and I'm certain that there are. It's the same scenario in other countries. There's a certain concentration of talent. In India, in Italy, I know there is. In China, there's a certain concentration, and that's the advantage. Okay, so if you can find talent, is the key.
Right.
Everything else you can find in terms of the cameras, editing. But again, a lot of those people, the best people in the United States, let's say, they're in LA. They're in LA because that's where you have different levels of crews. Different shooters, different lighting people, different sound people. The best quality is where all the action is, and that's why, to answer your question, why it's Los Angeles versus other parts of the U.S. And that's why when you look at the tax incentives, they all the tax incentives are outside of California. You don't get a tax incentive by shooting in California. You get a tax incentive to shoot in Louisiana or to shoot in Toronto or to shoot in Oregon. Yeah. And why? Or New Mexico? Why? Because you got to take all that talent out of LA and bring them to where you're going, or you got to find a local crew. But if you look at the crews that work on those shows or those movies that film in these other places, they're LA based. They're LA based.
Yeah, the LA based ones are the best. No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So that's a short answer to that question. But that's not to dissuade. If you can find good actors and a good shooter, you can make a movie anywhere.
Right. Okay.
Doesn't matter. You don't need to be in LA. You can be.
Yeah, but don't you need a good script? Because sometimes I'm listening to these movies. I'm going, hey, the script is carrying this. In other words, you could almost have any actor because you got this great script writer.
Well, it's similar. It's a similar answer. When you are. Here's what I do. Whenever somebody is, because I get a lot of phone calls about mentorship can help me. I'm trying to break in Hollywood. Sure. First question is, where do you live? Right? And then if they tell me they live anywhere, but again, if they're in the U.S., I'm saying US,
right in the U.S. Right.
If they're in the U.S. and they ask me where they live, they say, well, I live in Arizona. So you need a train ticket. Where do you live? Oh, I live in New York. You need a plane ticket. Come out once you get here, then call me.
Yeah, right.
Because if you're going to play baseball, you got to go to the baseball stadium. If you're going to go to the concert, you got to go to concert hall. The judges go to court to go to work. The judge doesn't go to the hospital, right? The doctor goes to the hospital. So if you're in the entertainment business, you got to be where the work is. And the screenwriting is very similar. You can write anywhere. But if you don't have an agent, then that script is not going to get where it needs to go.
It's done.
So that's why these screenwriters, when they first start out, they come to LA normally because they want to push their script out. They got to get busy and get hustling their scripts out there. And it was interesting because when I first started to write scripts after my first novel, I wrote a screenplay and I was so frustrated because I didn't want to write a script. I just learned how to write novels, and now it took me 5 years to learn how to write novels, right? Like I'm studying, how do I do? Because I want it to be good. I don't want it to be a bad book, right? I want this book to be a good book. So I'm learning how to write novels. And then I finally published my first, and I got more novels coming, right? And then my mentors, they said, you got to write a script because we need to make these movies. And I said, I'm not interested in making movies. I just want to write books, right? They said, no, we'll help you. So I hired one person to write a script. They couldn't get it right. I hired a second person. They couldn't get it right. And then I got so frustrated that I went back to my mentors and I said, hey, these people, they don't understand. They're not writing this thing the right way. And they said to me, unanimously, you got to write it yourself. You have to write it. And I said, oh God, okay. So I got to learn how to write scripts. So I went to my friend after I wrote my first script, my friend who runs a studio. He runs a studio called Bowl Films, right? They do award-winning stuff. Beautiful, beautiful movies, right? And he says, turn around, right? I had my script, put it on his desk. He said, turn around. I turned around and there's a bunch of boxes back there. You see those boxes? He says, there's about 300 scripts in those boxes, right? And those are the ones that we didn't accept from last month. Wow. And all of those scripts, we only accept the scripts from agents. Mm-hmm. All those scripts have agents, which means they're good scripts, right? Mm-hmm. And so after I felt like this big,
got a great novel.
Yeah, I said the book. Stick with the book. No, he didn't say stick with the books.
Would you pick a good script or a mega budget? Which movie would you like to make?
Which movie would I like to make?
A big budget or a good script?
Or a good or mega budget. I mean, unlimited.
Well, you know
budget.
what? It's interesting that you asked. Thanks for asking that. And the first script that I wrote was basically the one I put on Richard's desk, and he was kind after he told me what a kind of an uphill battle I had, right, to get this movie even made, like at all. Mm-hmm. He said to me, pick 5 people who read scripts for a living, and they'll give you notes. Okay, people who read scripts, people you respect, right, in the industry. And again, this ties back to Nick's question. I'm in LA. So I got the people at my disposal. If I was living in Mississippi, it would be a different story, right? How do you get somebody to read your script? And
they're better at football there than they are at.
Yeah. So, and nothing wrong with Mississippi. I love everywhere. I love the whole country, the South, North, East, West. So he says, pick 5 people who you respect. So that's what I did, and he was one of those 5 people. So I had a guy running a studio giving me notes on my movie. That's kind of unfair advantage, but that's how it goes. That's right. So I'm writing this script, and I'm writing and I'm rewriting. And then in the meantime, I'm learning how this filmmaking world works. And that's when I started writing these other scripts, because the movie that I was writing was a bigger budget movie. The movie that I was writing, because I learned, don't write it for budget, write it for reality, for how the story goes, right? And that first script, I kept writing and rewriting, getting my notes. We wrote 18 versions of it, 18. Okay. And then finally on the 18th version, it dawned on me that this movie was about like 2.5, 3 hours long, right? And so, well, we could cut it, but I said the story is the story, right? I'm getting all my notes from all my mentors, right? So what my instead of cut it, what my very good friend Michael, one of my mentors, who was also one of my consultants, he said, "This is two movies. You got 2 movies here, so." Rewrite it again, and you got to give each a beginning, middle, and end, and then you got 2 movies that are, probably 2 hours long each, right? And so that project has not been made yet. I made other movies. The actual core story, which is what the book is based on, is a project that's about a $20 million budget, and it's that's not a massive budget compared to, what some of these other movies are, but that one is the one that's going to require, it's going to require stunts. It's going to require closing off streets. It's going to it takes place on the streets in New York in the 80s. So in order to do it the way it's written, it's going to cost, right? We got to shoot in New York. And you got to get the A crew in New York, which is big money. You got to bring all the actors to New York. You got to get A-list actors to do this, because people aren't putting up 20 million for new actors. They want the A-list actors. So that's the one that it's actually 2 movies, but we film them at the same time, and that's a $20 million situation. So that's sitting there. In the meantime, I made 5 other movies that were lower budget, and then with that one sitting there. Yeah.
But I think this would be a good time to do it because a lot of cities are empty. I mean, ghost towns, and you have a lot of ample of places available.
You could do it in New York right now. The New York's a ghost town, and all the actors are sitting around doing nothing.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to ask.
Kimberly, now I was all on board with this, but then Nick wants me to go to New York and make a movie.
What are you waiting for? Let me get you a plane ticket.
The streets, what do you go through? Because we went through going through the university, but what do you go through in shutting down a street? I mean, I can't even imagine
all the streets are shut down right now, and film New York right now. There's no one there.
I was on board. What time is it now?
Well, it's 9 o'clock if you're.
Nick wants me to go to New York and use the shutdown street.
Yeah, and the actors are sitting around. The actors are sitting around doing nothing.
You know, it's actually your point is not so far off. It actually is. We're having conversations now that we weren't having before because some of the actors and the agents are not as active as they were, so they're open to more things. But as far as with the streets and whatnot, you know, you have to talk to the town. You got to get the permit. You got to get the police involved. You got to get and there are people that do that. There are people that secure locations for movies. You hire them and they get it all done. The movies that we've made up until now, the last one was about 2.1 million. The last one budget that we're just finishing, and we filmed on location in Italy. We had the town.
Where in Italy did you film?
We filmed in Via Reggio. We filmed in Pisa.
In January, just before the crisis.
I think we should come to India.
It was a week before. They
come to India to shoot a movie.
Well, yeah, I was just waiting for the
1.3 billion people.
I was waiting for the
invite. You shoot a movie here. I mean, I think it will be half a cost of what you are spending in.
Not only that, you have an audience of 1.3 billion people. like American movies.
If you can reconnect that, if you know about Nick Jonas. Her wife is an Indian.
I would have been in Italy. I just got back in October. I was in Florence, Siena, Venice, and just hanging out. But see, I would go just to hang out. I wouldn't go to actually work.
Florence is my favorite city. But what were you saying there?
Florence is great. He said go film in India. Bring that 1.3.
Well, I was thinking that what's happening with a lot of Hollywood, producers or maybe movie or series maker, they invite one of the Indian characters from their movie, and that's how they get the Indian audience.
Sure. You just
want Indian about making a deal. I'm ready to go.
One Indian actor, and you just capture 1.3 billion viewers.
We're on site. Here's what we did. If you look at, and again, Kimberly can organize this with however you guys want to proceed. I'm ready to do a deal. So that's what we're talking about.
Let's go.
What we did in our
get that Shadow Khan dude on the wall.
We have in the original deck. You're going to get a copy of it. Dev Patel is in our movie plan for the bigger budget movie. Dev Patel. There's also there's a character that an Indian character plays in those first. That's already done. That wasn't because of this conversation. That's been there for 3 years. Okay. There's also a big Chinese character. Now, remember, this was written when Dev Patel was right after Slumdog Millionaire, and Dev Patel was very hot. I don't know his star power now or how that goes. Maybe we just replace
the younger version of Dev Patel.
Younger version. So the other one is
younger, less expensive version.
There's a Chinese actor. His name escapes me. Who's in the deck also. Who is really big, an actor and also an actress, one from Taiwan and one from mainland China. And so we put them in the deck because they're big stars in their countries. Okay. And also because they can act. and they're talented. So as long as the influencer can act and is right for the part, because the movie's got to be right. And again, there's so much talent that I'm not concerned about that. But that's how we position that, because we knew we would have to get bigger money.
Yeah.
So that's also where our brains are connected in that sense, is what I'm trying to say. We think along those lines. We're thinking international. When you look at our movies, you'll see every color in the rainbow. There's no
no prejudice.
No, well, there's no prejudice, but again, we're telling true stories also.
Right.
So
there's just you are just so open to any culture,
all these cultures interact. That's right. Exactly. So when you have the different cultures, they're interacting and they're maintaining their cultural differences. So it's not that we just put everyone in and they're all all American kids. Everyone's bringing something to the table based on their backgrounds. We talked about it earlier. The Puerto Ricans are this way, and the Irish are this way, and the Chinese are this way. And it's not that we're stereotyping. We're telling history. When you tell history, if you're going to make a movie about slavery, you got to show slaves. So it's not. We're not stereotyping. We're telling this is the historical significance. But I'll tell you another thing that we do. We're very careful about. We're very careful that if we have a character that is depicted in a negative way, that's of a certain ethnicity or nationality, we do our best to counterbalance that with a different character and keep it real. So you will see references to different ethnicities and different terms, and you balance we got to keep it real. Let me give you an example. If there's an Indian character who plays now in Dirt Merchants, the Indian character is not a bad guy. So just if it were, right, then there would be specific references to that person's home life, that person's culture, how their parents are interacting with them, that are specific to that culture, that would cause them to be maybe a negative character. But then we would do our best to have maybe the brother or the sister saying, no, go the right way, because that also happens within the family. So we're very careful. But when you see the movies, they're very real. There's a lot of Italian gangsters. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of Puerto Rican people doing this. There's a lot of white trash doing that. It's because you're telling the story the way that it was, but there's ways to balance that out. That's healthy, so that we're not perpetuating stereotypes, which is a bad idea.
And they just love those stories over in India, and they do have. We do have 300 million people in the U.S. They have 1.3 billion people in India.
That's 125 times.
And South Africa has 57 million people. California has 34 million. South Africa has.
Let me read between the lines here. Nick wants us to work in
numbers. That's
South Africa,
South Africa,
network,
Australia, India, Canada. I mean, and you just incorporate. Yeah, right.
So again, I want to do a story after this is over where we travel to each of the wonderful places that we've been sharing stories with. We've literally had people from Singapore, we built a family.
Africa.
I love our family, India, lots of India, of course, India. But we've had this love and connection, and we're building new communities, a worldwide community. We have our own sign language now, right?
This is how you introduce people. I've been telling, I'm telling Ankit that when you greet people in India, they go Namaste or whatever the heck it is. Right?
Namaste.
Namaste. And they do that all the time. I mean, that's the natural way they introduce. In America, it's like, well, I can't do that anymore. How about this? How about that? We don't know what to do. And I said, you got to start training the Americans how to do the Indian greeting. And then the thing is, we won't share COVID-19. It's going to take a while.
Watching an interesting documentary.
Our culture just doesn't move very quickly. Everything remains the same. But when you're talking about Hollywood, I was at NAPD. Kim went with me. We went to the NAPD meeting in Miami. I was going to the
wait, time out. Henny, have you ever been to NAPTI?
Have you been to NAPTI? Do you know what NAPTI is? Okay, great. Okay, so we were Lou Martin. Yeah, right. Okay, and here's the thing they were scared about. All the majors like CBS, ABC, NBC, and the others, they were scared about this guy.
Okay. All the presidents of all the major networks are there.
Netflix was the fastest growing stock on the New York Stock Exchange the last 10 years. They actually went up 4,000%. Go Google Netflix and look at their stock.
It's one of the top stock in the world, I think. It's one of the top stock in the world in the last 10 years.
What was amazing is they were scared of the fact that they were losing control. The majors were losing control of the media, and they can't stop it. They said in the next 5 years, we're going to lose 25% of our market share. We can't stop it. And this is one reason I asked about Hollywood. Okay, so Hollywood has had a grip. The studios had that strong grip on movie production. But wait a minute, times are changing. And now all of a sudden you're seeing this breakdown, this international breakdown of the movie production industry. And I'm not sure how long. I mean, they'll still have a stronghold, like Silicon Valley still has a stronghold on the tech industry. And in terms of raising capital for tech, it's the biggest in the country. But they're going to lose the stronghold unless they acknowledge the rest of the world. I mean, the fact is, the way I looked at it, the movies make X in the US, but they just break even. They have to go international to actually make a profit. In other words, you're just going to get your production costs back. However, you can have a plan in mind to go international to begin with, and you're almost guaranteed profits because you look at all these countries and they can afford to go see a movie. The product I sell, they can't afford, but the product of a movie, what is it, $4 or $5? There's a billion people in India who can afford $4 to go see a movie. I'm sorry, it's not a high.
It's $20 in the US. Yeah. I haven't been.
You won't believe, in India we have 2 different plans for Netflix. One regular plan and one light plan, which is for the other part of India. Yeah. And they are sharing movies around the world at a price which is around $3.
Yeah, wow. yeah. But the thing is, they have a huge scale of people, and they can all afford that product. If you're selling an IBM mainframe, not everybody can afford it. Okay, but if you're selling a movie, then it's just a matter of demographics. I mean, if you're out there in these countries with all these huge demographics, and it's so easy to get there today, you can stream right in.
We're talking about sharing it through the tribe. Right.
Yeah, and you do have to build your tribe, that's for sure.
Well, we build our tribe by connecting from one group to the other, and we share our resources, like we're sharing with Alexander May.
But Facebook was brilliant on this. When Facebook started, there was another social media site called Create Space. We all forgot about them today. Anybody use Create? No one. Okay, Murdoch from the Wall Street Journal bought Create Space, okay? But they had no clue what to do. And what Zuckerberg did, which was very clever, he captured all their email addresses, and he continually marketed Facebook to you. In other words, I got your email. You got to have their email address. You got to capture it. You got to continually market to these people, because otherwise they forget. And that's what happened to Create Space, and Create Space went down the toilet. Mark Zuckerberg was smart enough to realize, even though he had a media site, he had to continue to market to the people so they'd watch his media site. And so they did it, and they were very successful.
We lost Henning. He beamed out on us. Oh dear.
Oh, it's 5 after. It's 15 after. I have Alexa. She just arrived.
Alexa arrived. Henning, there you are.
I'm still here. So I'd love to do this again if you guys want. Sure, that would be great. We can try. There you go. Okay, and you also would be helpful. You put it if you guys want to watch the watch party. Can you put the URL in there so that you guys know which link to click on?
We did that earlier, and we can run that throughout. Can I put it on our website?
Yeah, you can put it on the website. It's publicly accessible, and you can put it on the site. And then also anything that you all need from me, don't hesitate. We have a big group. We have nice, good people. And Kimberly is one of my favorite people, and so so whatever you guys need. Lynn, thank you again for everything and moving everything along.
Oh, Anka's got a question for you.
All right, last question.
So last question is how revenue share films can work closely with IBM, because you were trying to distribute movies of, the budding. Yeah.
We talked to.
We're working on it.
We talked to Kim and Kimberly and Lynn are talking about it. We're talking about doing some kind of behind the scenes ongoing TV show that incorporates the motivational messages and shows how we're making these movies. It's pretty interesting. It's interesting to me how it all happens because so I think that could be something we have. I think we have like 20 or 25 shows already done behind the scenes, and we continue to make those.
Yeah.
It's what would be very interesting is how we're making movies privately and confidentially while everything's going on. It's an interesting way to go. So that's one way, but also we're more interested in we're interested as well. I should say, not more interested in as well in collaborating. We want to make more films. We want to continue to these will probably not be TV shows. Because the nature of the it's more like a movie series, like Harry Potter. Like each movie is its own movie, but it's part of this larger scheme. And so any help that you guys can collaborate with us on, we're looking for good people, conscious people, people who are want to make a difference, but also this is a business. And it's big money, and if people understand the numbers, again, Nick. That's why I love whenever we get on with Nick, because he's focused on the numbers. But think about it for a second. If you can, in this business, you can take a very small budget and turn it into multiple times.
Right.
If you're smart about it, and if you do things very methodically, and with all of our power, I think we can do very well with these films. So whatever input you can bring on that, whatever asset, whatever value, we appreciate it, and we willingly share whatever you have that we can promote and bring out that's good to our tribe. We'll do it, and that's how, as Kimberly said, that's how we all grow. That's how the tribes grow, because we tap into each other's power. So.
Yes. And we're working on it, and I love the behind the scenes TV show.
That's the best.
It's become its own series, but it's like behind the scenes to me is like the love story.
It's the important part.
The love story of making the movie. It's awesome.
The story behind the story is
the ones. Check out the ones we did in Italy. It was hilarious.
I want to see them now.
It was hilarious. Right. Because you're trying to communicate and you don't know where you are. We literally were on jet lag and we're looking around. Where are we? Who are we? Where's our crew? Where's our people? Where are our actors? And because then when you see the final thing, you're like, wow, this is awesome. This is so majestic and so beautiful, this scene. And then you realize how they made it was just like a sloppy. It's like a hog's sloppy, feeding area. And to make the thing, but then you see this beautiful result. Like all of a sudden, there's like a hose that we all get hosed down, and the beautiful thing shows up on the screen. So, and I enjoy it because I always will try to motivate the crew, or I'll give them like words of inspiration, and I'll work with the actors. And I'll bust their chops, and our actors are all young, so I can treat them like kids, because they're they are kids, and they love it. So it's pretty cool, and some of these people are going to come out to be, are going to grow out of this to be big names. It happened with Drew. I've been with Drew Lane for 10 years, and some of his artists are massive. That Miley Cyrus and all those people. Those are people he worked with when he was, back in Hannah Montana in those days. So some of these actors can become very big, and it can be fun for us to be like tracking their success down the road, and then tapping into their power as they get more influence. And it's just a positive cycle. So I'm open to doing that for sure.
Great. Okay. Yep. Well, Tuesday is our meeting.
And definitely, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll bring you back on because there's more we need to talk about.
More to talk about. It's so much more.
Yes. Grazie.
Thank you, guys.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Right. Wow. What a wonderful visit.
Wonderful discussion about movies and Hollywood and Bollywood and distribution, and a lot of insights about the industry. That was thanks for the introduction with Henning. It was wonderful to have him, and we would like to host him again. Maybe every Tuesday if he's available. I'm not sure, but let's manage things around.
Yeah. So, and speaking of which, I actually have a meeting at 1:00, which is for our time. It's about 45 minutes from now, with somebody who runs a who does movie reviews, which is something I don't do. So I'm going to have to beam off in about 30 or 40 minutes, or maybe 10
minutes.
So
let's talk again more about. Let's go back to COVID and what people are doing and expecting. That was an interesting conversation we had.
It's great. We get all the. I'm trying to get that Shadow Khan on board, because you get all these people on board now, because all the people in Hollywood and all the actors around the world, they can't do their stuff anymore. they're sitting around going, "What am I going to do?"
Everyone is doing their Instagram TV. I mean, IGTV live, and everyone is on social media, just passing the time in doing the scripting thing, reading scripts, and doing editing and all those things. But there is no studio going around in India and maybe around the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, everybody's on break right now, so it's a pretty good time for us. And of course we have Alexander May. I'm looking forward to her show. I think it's this Sunday at 3, right? So the thing is, I'm looking forward to her show and see what that's going to be all about, because that could be pretty cool. So it looks like we're moving forward quite nicely. Coronavirus. Here's all I checked out was the Dow was down, which doesn't surprise me.
But Nick, what happened to the crude oil?
The which?
Crude oil.
The who?
Crude oil.
Oh, crude oil. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah.
What is the deal with the crude oil?
A couple reports.
I'm confused about the
reports. Remember Martin Gomez, Kim? Okay, he knows 6 of the people in Nova Scotia that got killed yesterday. And I'm trying to get the report on Nova Scotia. When the
10 people who were shot on the border?
Yeah, shot on the border. But
that was more of a crazy person.
It was a crazy person, but Martin Gomez, who's our Canadian affiliate, actually, and I'm trying to bring him on, knew 6 of them that got killed. They killed 18 or 19 people, some crazy person. I'm trying to get him on board so we can do a report from Nova Scotia and find out, because he knows all because he lives there. He knows all the people there. But I have to go to my emails to find whether he's available and get him on. In terms of crude oil, what also happened yesterday, besides all that, crude oil went negative in the United States. Western Texas crude, they basically will pay you to take their oil away, because here's what happened. Because the U.S. shut down, no one's driving cars. No one drives cars. We don't need oil. And our whole supply chain got backed up all the way into the oil refineries, which are sitting on more oil and more oil reserves than they could possibly use. And so what happened, oil dropped 321% in one day. It crashed. And with that, of course, the stock market's down 600%, because the rippling effect, when oil crashes, all the people that work crash, and it just keeps going from the shippers all the way down, just goes boom, 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 like that. It's like a domino. Now, that's the bad news. Here's the good news. Gas is less than $1 a gallon here in a lot of states, and you're going to see, if this continues, airplane prices will go down. I did check going to India. I always check going to visit you in New Delhi. I can go around $687 round trip right now. I mean, it's less than 800. Usually you can go for like 800 round trip if you shop, but I can't go because I can't get into your country. But I'm just saying, the thing is, airline prices are going to go down if this continues, And so this is what we're seeing right now. But the economy is moving pretty fast, because we don't ever see all of a sudden, bang, a whole industry just fall, like what just happened in the oil and gas industry.
So the oil and gas industry too, another interesting thing about it that a lot of people don't know is they pay by the day.
Really?
The oil and gas industry is billable by the day and pay by, well, it's not exactly pay by the day. People don't get their checks the same day, but you bill them by day.
Right.
So there is a huge chance that all these people who did a lot of work for them, won't get paid.
Right.
Because the paycheck's delayed by so many days.
Oh yeah. And financial services, I got a report from our company, which was not good, for the last 2 months. And these are the people in general insurance sales. 27 producers made no sales, no income for 2 straight months. Well,
you can't sell anything when people are not making money. That's
not only not making money. If you want to see what's happening, this is the reason why people are on the streets going, "Hey, open up the economy." Can you imagine making no money for 2 months, not one dime? That's not a good thing. So as we predicted earlier, there was going to be the coronavirus pandemic, and then there's going to be the economic pandemic or tsunami that's going to fall right afterwards. And we're already seeing that happen here. Now, with that, many states have, quote, reopened. This could be too early because the thing is they still haven't got a handle on this. But because of such demand, they're going to go ahead and reopen. And we're going to see, because what happened apparently in the Spanish flu, there were 2 waves or another wave that came afterwards because people tended to ignore the prevention which they needed to do before they reopen. These people need to be trained, masks, gloves, social distancing, and before they reopen. But, we live in a pretty much of a Yahoo society here in the United States. So state by state, they're reopening. And so I anticipate you're going to see another wave of increase in coronavirus here. There's just no way. It's not going to go down. It'll go up, and it's going to be bad. Now, what they should have done, this is what they're doing. What they should have done is waited maybe to July the 4th and trained everybody, mask, gloves, look at some of the treatments. And I think it was Dr. Moskowitz who's saying prednisone being a treatment. I did a fact check on it. And yes, oddly enough, prednisone has been shown as a proven treatment. However, and here's the however, the FDA doesn't like people using prednisone because it's a very powerful drug. I've used it, and I've had doctors refuse to subscribe it to me. And then I've had some doctors who give it to me. It's like inconsistent, but I can also testify because I've used it. It is one big, powerful drug. But now if you think about it, your choice is to breathe, okay, or take prednisone. What are you going to do? You're going to take prednisone. I mean, that's the nature of the beast of that drug. But Dr. Moskowitz is going to be on again. I sent him over to you to figure out when you want to schedule him because I think he was moving in the right direction. And I think the thing is, what we're looking at right now is the treatments that are available and and this is where the testing becomes so important, where we're so lacking. If you could test people, treat people quickly, there's a better chance they don't have to go on these stupid ventilators that have an 80% mortality. Everybody says, oh, we got to produce more ventilators. Why? 80% of them are going to die by the time they get to there. You need testing, you need treatments, and you need prevention. So this is going to be a lot of work. Oh, that's not my cell phone.
No.
Somebody else's cell phone. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, trade between China and
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
So the other big thing that we had today was the Virgin.
What was that?
The other big thing we had today was Virgin Airlines.
What happened with Virgin? I didn't hear about it.
They asked the Australian government for a bailout, and the Australian government refused.
Okay.
Because 2 of their shareholders big shareholders were from China. And they said, oh, we're not going to really bail out something that has overseas interests.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but
all those jobs went.
Yeah, but sure, if you think about it, why would they do that? In other words, the thing is, why should the government play pansy to large corporations? They've done that for years and have ignored the small companies. And so Virgin goes under. So what? I mean, there's other airlines that will pick up the slack, and the thing is, there's no reason to support. So governments have to be smart about that. And why would they go to Australia? Why did they go to the United States or United Kingdom, where they were from? Why did they go to Australia, ask for the money? What are they thinking? Qantas, isn't Qantas your airline over there? Qantas?
Yep.
Yeah, I've flown around in Qantas. Qantas doesn't want to see Virgin running around there. Tell them to go take a hike. Sorry, Richard Branson. I mean, come on, guy. First thing they do, they want a handout. Nah, I wouldn't do it. I totally would agree. But I didn't know they were in that situation. It's just like AMC Theaters. Okay, AMC Theaters has $4.9 billion in debt, but it's not the U.S. government position to go bail out a theater industry. I'm sorry, and this happens way too much where the U.S. government, the large corporations, lean on the government to bail them out, and that is not their position to do it. So, yeah, what they did is they are giving money to just regular people, which is very interesting. Everybody here is going to get $1,200. Not very much in the United States, but better than nothing. And then if you ask for it, you may get 10,000, okay, or cover your payroll for 2 months. But ultimately, we're going to have to figure out how to go back to work, and there are ways to do it.
Yep.
I just don't see the leadership here.
I didn't get the
I don't get the great leadership here.
I didn't get the stimulus. It was supposed to be as easy as sending in your application for your companies, and I didn't get it.
Not yet, but that's because they ran out of money. They will ultimately get it. That would be my thinking, is that ultimately it'll take place, but when is the question here.
And they keep talking about doing another new kind of stimulus where everybody gets $2,000 check every month for a few months.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're putting Band-Aids on the solution. What we need to do is have somebody come up with a uniform, concrete solution using prevention, mitigation, treatment, and have the same story over and over again. Masks, gloves, social distancing, identification through testing, and then treatments. I mean, we've got to get real on this stuff. But I don't see, I think we have a big leadership vacuum that, and then they don't talk to the doctors. I mean, it's like the doctors are often
irrelevant in that scenario.
So I have a question for you. What's happening in India? There is the news flowing down that there was a trade deal between US and China sometime in December, January, and in that deal there was a disaster clause in that deal. I mean, because the trade war was going on last year, and the disaster deal happened just after the coronavirus. So, do you have any idea about what's going on in that? Because there's a lot of news flowing in India about that.
No, I don't know. That's a U.S.-China deal. I have not kept up with it, so I don't know what they're doing. I know that a lot of our deals are being done by the executive branch, and it's been moving pretty quickly. So, face likely considered disaster clause, Not really sure what's going on in that.
I don't know what that means either. I've seen several things that I'm not quite sure who's really reporting it. Coming from China, that, but I mean, and we've heard some interesting facts being discussed today about conspiracy theories. And these are facts from experienced people who travel in and out of these countries perpetually on a military basis. I don't think they would be making this up. I think it's based on their experience and what they're accustomed to having to research and see. Again, I've looked at a lot of facts where I've heard a lot of doctors say, your immunity should be able to fight off most viruses. But this virus cannot be fought off with our immune system we have. So we have to take a look at that. I mean, is it man-made? And I think, yes, I think it was a man-made virus because they know it was mutated. And but the reason why we need to be researching this isn't to point blame right now. It should be so that we can fix the problem, right? So if it is man-made, making a vaccine from our blood, our immune system, from people who've already had it, you won't be able to find a vaccine. Because if it's man-made, you can't establish the immunity system you need to fight it, at least not in the research I've looked at. I'm not the world's smartest scientist either, but just based on what I've read about our bodies and our immunities, our blood plasma being used for previous viruses, it's based on the fact that your immune system can fight that virus, right? And what we've seen from this is our immune systems cannot fight the virus. If they were going to launch a biochemical war against us, I think they would have launched something that would have just killed us instantly or a little bit faster, or definitely killed us when we got it, right? Not just made us sick. So I really have to look at that I think that if they intended to do this to harm us, that's what they would have done. I mean, why did New York get saturated? It's the interconnection to all the world, and it's heavily saturated. Everybody uses public transits, and not.
It's happening in the global cities. Actually, it's happening in around the world in all global cities because they are connected to the public transport. They are connected to the airports, and a lot of travelers are coming to these. Beautiful global cities, and that's why it happened. And I think I missed the initial part of the conversation today because I was not available. And I think there was some interesting conversation going around between India and other countries and all those things.
Well, everybody wanted your input from India, and you weren't here because everyone was like, "Well, what's India's input on this?" Because you can point fingers all you want all day long right now, pointing blame isn't where we need to go. We need the solution. And in order to get the solution, we need the origin of ground zero. We need the origin of the virus itself. If it was man-made and it was an accidental, dump into our society, then tell us it's man-made so we can start from there. That's all that needs to happen. And then, but don't sit there and cover up, because you're just establishing more reasons for distrust and lawsuits. But I think that there was a major cover up. I think that it was a laboratory experiment that went crazy. Otherwise, our body would be able to fight it off a whole lot better, and we would have a vaccine. I'm not going to say most vaccines are quick and easy. They're not. But for the most part, when we have a flu, right, we take the embodies of the flu and we build the virus for next year. I mean, the vaccine for next year, right? Why can't we do that with the coronavirus?
I think no one was ready about the coronavirus, and I think only the China they were prepared about it because they have a lot of items available before the virus hit at Wuhan, and now they're supplying to the world, and everyone. That's why there is a big question mark that how China can produce so many coronavirus related products around the world at the same point of time when no one is working and everything is locked down because they have already prepared for it, be it ventilators, be it masks, be it rapid test kits, be it maybe some kind of drugs or raw materials, whatever. I'm not sure about it, but Kim, I'll tell you. In fact, Willie would also agree that if you ask the general public in and around the world who are not politicians, who are just basic, business or simple living people, they might be having thought that they might not want to deal with China anymore. Maybe Chinese are accepted, but not the country as the whole. And that's why that every day I'm reading a lot of business stories that now South Korea and Japan and European countries and US and a lot of countries, they're moving their businesses from China to countries like Asia and other countries where they can set up new businesses. And all of them have been, from 10 to 20% of their GDP, they're putting that much amount of budget or stimulus to shift the companies from China to different countries. And if they're taking that big step, that means, there is something which is for us as people who are general public, we are not sure what's happening in the above. At the level of the ministers or at the level of the bureaucrats, because there is something going on. Because to take such decisions, it's not a piece of a cake that within a month you'll decide that I'll move everything from China to maybe some other country. So I think there is something going on. So we just have to wait for the right time once we have all these data available with us, and maybe let's see how we can, analyze those data. And also, if you see continent-wise, Australia is in a safe zone as well as Africa. South America is doing better than what the North America is in a bad shape, and so is the Asian countries. But overall, in a global map, if you see a health green map, so Australia and Africa is in good shape as compared to the other continents, and that is because they have very few. I don't know about the budget or maybe trade between China and these countries, but that is not that much in compared to the European countries and the North American, South American countries. That's what people, because China's main trade partner was Japan, European countries, and America, because they are the superpowers, and they were the worst hit at this point of time. And when Kim said that if it's a biological weapon or something like that, they could have killed them directly. But if there is no person in America or maybe in Europe, how will China survive or live? Because the rich person needs a lot of poor people to live around. I mean, that's why we call them rich.
If they're going to do it a different way. And if they wanted to take over our banking industry, that's not where you take over the banking industry. That's not where the banking industry computers are. I know. I used to work on the networks that control. So, if that's what you want to do, you got to go to the guts and to the core. If you want to take out a country, fine. If you want to kill all the people, it's not a virus like this. I mean, it's killing us. Don't get me wrong. But it needed to be a virus that killed.
It's making us sick, basically, and making us weak, so that we won't be able to work for ourselves, and maybe we will work for some other person. And also, you won't believe that I read a news today in one of the Economic Times newspaper in India, and Bank of China is opening their branches in India, and I was very, shocked and amazed to see that news at this point of time, and I don't know, what's happening around, because you were keep on saying that Chinese have already bought a lot of banks in US, and now it's time to coming to India with their banking partners. So that's something which is not. I don't know how the government is working on
it. I think okay, we're a world, right? And China makes up a lot of population. I think we're just going to have to start building bridges. I think if this was intentional, then the intent was to divide and conquer, because they have divided us worse. We were divided already as a country in our politics, but this has divided us worse. Okay, so if you were approaching it that way, and divide and conquering, then they have achieved that goal. Okay, they have. We can't agree on anything in politics. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody. Nobody's helping. There's no life preservers being handed to people. We are a free country, so we are free to be stupid and go out and infect each other if we so choose. We don't have penalties for being stupid like that or inconsiderate. So you got a question, Ankit?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make one more statement that there's a belief in India, it must be in your country as well, that first impression lasts forever. Do you believe in that?
To say that again?
First impression lasts forever.
First
impression. So suppose your
first impression lasts forever, just like when you fall in love with somebody. Usually, it's...
I know that, but if you take it in a different level, so basically Boris was there and he was talking about the global relationships and how it's molding down, and he was talking about the political leaders and all those things. So if you suppose if you're talking about two different countries and you are visiting the first country, and then you have some impression which is already being made by you by visiting that country, and if you visit the second country after some time, you are taking that impression to yourself and putting that impression on the second country, and that's how you decide what to do and how to do. And that also happens with a lot of influencers going around, because be what kind of newspaper you are reading, what kind of friend circle you have, what kind of party you support, and a lot of things. So it's not about that we have to be in a hatred mode, but it's just that impressions solves a lot of theories. So we have an impression that we have to be positive, and that is what our impression is. Be it any person with a different religion or a different, culture, or maybe a different color, but we have to be positive. That is our vision and our impression in IVM TV, but not for everyone else. That's why people carry impression and then decide their own fate.
You make a good point there, and I think that's one of the reasons Rakesh kind of brings a good balance to the show about, we're all humans in every country, and you can take whatever impression you want, but until you go there and visit it in the heart of the place. And I'll share an example. Sometimes you have a tendency of judging people, right? And this is what I tell people: until you physically meet the person, please be careful what you say, especially in politics. But unless you've really met them, don't let the media guide you into saying certain things that you say. And I guess I could have been world's worst for that, but also being a leader in a company, I know I'm judged for things that people have no idea why I had to make the choices I had to make. But I had this perception of a particular senator in my state. Really did not like what I considered his values, right? I just thought he was dirt. I just thought, and in fact, Dan Brooke couldn't have defined politics any better than he did yesterday, where, you can see certain politicians, they're far one-sided, they're prejudiced, they're over-religious, they're over-righteous, and they're all big corporate and big top 1% supporters. And I was sitting there listening to him say this, and I remember how I was judging a particular senator one time, and I was very angry at his laws, very angry at the way he pushed these laws. And then I got invited to have breakfast with him. Okay. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'm going to go, right? I'm going to go sit down with him. I'm going to tell him how I feel. But then I said, you know what, Kim, be reserved. This is a special person invited you. You don't want to embarrass them. So just be reserved. Well, as it would stand out, I went into the boardroom and he sat next to me. I sat down, I got there early. We got, he sat down next to me and go, oh gosh, please help me keep my temper, help me keep my cool. And so then he got to do the opening. I love how he opened. The reason why I don't sit at the head of the table is that's the person that gets shot if somebody's sitting outside the window, because they're going to think I'm sitting at the head of the table. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I will never sit at the head of the table again. So, but I was sitting close to the head, but so we were sitting there, and he told his story. Okay. And we're laughing and joking and having a good breakfast, having a great breakfast. And I got to see him and learn who he is. And he likes music. He likes to sing while he's driving down the road, right? He likes cooking out food with his family and barbecue. And this human came out of this man that I thought was cold-hearted and a jerk, right? This human came out, and I had breakfast with him. And I always say that I had breakfast with him, and we talked. And there was an issue on my plate, several with him, but one particular, somebody threw me under the bus when he was saying, "Are there any questions?" Somebody said, "Kim has one." I was like, why didn't you have one? Why do you have to say Kim has one? I didn't raise my hand. I'm sitting right next to him. And he turns around. Okay, Kim, what's up? Okay, here it is. And I told him my story and about the bill that was on the table that was dying. And he never looked at it that way. He never looked at it in those eyes. And he took a very human approach to it. Now, there were a lot of people that gave him issues. And I thought it odd because he didn't take on any of them. He addressed an assistant to my issue. It was going to die anyway, so there was no way he could save it. But he took a human approach to it. He actually had a human feeling. He didn't realize all of that was involved. And I saw a different side of a man that I really hated. You know what I mean? That I could say horrible things about. I still don't like his political views. I still don't like his bills because he can be very, very populist. But there's a human there. And when somebody says, "Do you like him?" I go, "Absolutely, I do." There's a human there. His political views are different.
Yeah.
Like it. So we got to be careful. Yeah.
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 So sometimes what happens is that people might have different views personally, and their political views are different. And sometimes they have a view which view is a group of a view, basically, or maybe a views of a country at that point of time, because some things happen in pressure or something happened because of some strategy, maybe a long-term strategy, and that's how things fall in place. And you won't believe, I was at hospital today, and we were discussing we were discussing and tried to, channelizing the dots what happening in China from past 5 years. So I'm not sure about the timelines, but a couple of years back, Jinping chosen to be the president for lifetime, and then after that, if you create the events what happened around the world, you can imagine how Corona happened. So Jinping chose to be a lifetime president in China, and they said that there won't be any further elections, whatever it is. I don't know how the Communist Party works. And after that, if you just see how China is working in a global map, you can connect all the dots and you'll get to know what's happening around. Because they're trying to be at each and every place, and they wanted to conquer. And I was visiting Australia. A couple of years back. I had 3-4 times privilege to visit Australia, and I was surprised to see so many Chinese in Australia. And I was like, I don't know. I'm visiting Australia. I'm visiting a Chinatown. There are a lot of Chinese everywhere, and I was surprised to see. All of them.
The stats in Sydney is, if you're walking in Sydney, for every 20 people you go past, 15 of them are Chinese.
Wow. See.
Wow. I feel that way when I go to Disney World. And 100 square parameter foot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every person's from a different country. I can hear 100 different languages in just 1 square parameter. I think that part of our lifestyles is going to change. I'll tell you, I heard something in a documentary last night that kind of struck a chord with me. Is, we keep talking about the new normal, and we humans have ability of wanting to say it that way, because looking at abnormal, the word abnormal, which is what it's going to be, is we have to take a look at why it's abnormal. And to do that, we have a lot of regrets, right? We look back at the way our life was previous to this. So we are looking at what we call a new normal, and that's why we do that. Somebody actually addressed this. This was done years ago, too. This was not done recently. This was a documentary that was made years ago, talking about the new normal life, and because we're always coming against challenges, right? And sometimes a new normal, just for an individual, might be because somebody died in their family, right?
Absolutely.
And they have to address an abnormal new life, an abnormal to their life. But they came up with this word new normal. But there's going to be more to it than that, right? I keep hearing we're going to have to wear masks from now forward. We're going to have to start wearing masks when we're in public.
And it's called a trikini. So you have the bikini, now you have a trikini.
Trikini. I get a down on you, Ellie.
So the face mask has to match the bra and the bikini.
There you go. The trikini set. That's right. We got the trikini, we got the bra, the mask, and the underwear now. So, and we'll have matching gloves, right? So, and goggles, right? We're going to have those matching goggles. But, and that's something that we're going to have to talk about. How do we re-enter? And these are some of the conversations I loved yesterday, was just talking about how do we re-enter into society. Everybody says, "Oh, Kim, stop panicking, stop, building anxiety amongst people. You're hyping people up, and all of this is hype, and this is not hype." My word to them is fine. Get off your butt and go work the front lines at the hospitals for a while. Then come back and talk to me. I'm trying to get an appointment with my doctor, right? And and get some things accomplished. And everything is this long telephone process now, right? And then a video process, and then, and I'm not trying to push them to do something they don't want to do. I'm just giving them an update on me and stuff like that. And so no, life is not normal, and I'm not hyping. Okay. And granted, the other media, Fox News, they were probably, it looked like they were using fake videos from other places and other hospitals, but we're not doing that. We're letting real people come on our show and share real stories, just like Willie is from Australia. He is sharing with us what's really happening in Australia, folks. This isn't Kim or Ankit going, well, down in Australia, we read it. No, these are real people sharing their real stories. But we're talking about now are the positive things that we could take from this. The earth is cleaner, so maybe we're not going to spend as much money on that. And we can take that money and put it towards what? Towards the things we need moving forward. Change is inevitable. We will never be able to live our lives the way we did previous. So how do we do it? I think going back to our communities, right? Getting back to our communities and start establishing food back in our communities, right? We grew away from that. There's nothing wrong with growing your own community food. The best thing about that is you build your immunity system better for your environment when you do that. When you eat food that is grown in your environment, you're eating food that is healthy for your body. Honey from your environment.
I've got 2 large lemon trees, and when it bears fruit, I just have like boxloads of it.
Oh wow!
So I just take them. I just take them and put them on the footpath because right in front of my house. And man, 5 minutes later, it's all gone.
I would take them. I love lemons, and I don't need sugar on my lemons. I love just the pure lemon. People go, are you crazy? And I go, no. If you really just bite into it, and it's sour, but your body and your tongue and everything actually sweetens it for you. And you can start tasting the real flavor and the smell. And just it evolves. You don't need all that heavy sugar mixed in it to make it enjoyable. And it's not, I watch my favorite, one of my favorite movies is Chocolat. And the guy, he's drinking steeped lemon juice as his Lent penance, I guess. And I'm like, that shouldn't be punishment. That should be enjoyable to drink fresh lemon in your cup like that. But Willie, I wish I could pick up those lemons because wow. I got a question to ask though. I cannot grow lemon trees here. Are they spiky? I always heard they got thorns or something on them.
Yeah, spiky. But that's the irony of it, is because I've got 2 lemon trees and in the backyard. So the one that's close to the air conditioner has a lot of spikes. The one that's further down, that's just on its own, doesn't have any spike. And I'm trying to figure, okay, you're in my backyard and you're not 10 feet away from each other. One's full of spikes and the other one doesn't have any spikes.
Could it be like a male, female, or a different variety?
Maybe a different. So does the lemon of both the trees, taste similar, or there's a difference or texture or something?
Similar, like they're huge.
Okay.
They're huge.
Maybe. Because I've seen a lot of lemon trees in India, but I think that there are some spikes there, but not too much. And I'm not sure, because in India we have different types of lemons. Some are small, some are a little bigger.
Yep. So the only thing I think is when we turn the air conditioner on, the cool breeze coming out of the breeze that's fanning, it impacts the tree somehow. And the leaves, the color of the leaves on the one that's close to the air conditioner is more yellowish, whereas the color of the leaves on the other trees more greenish.
That's possible because of the air conditioning.
So I think it must be the air conditioning, because the breeze just blowing on it. It's yellow, and yellow in the front and green in the back. I don't know.
That's interesting. I've always wanted a lemon tree. I have this interesting plant in my backyard that I dearly, dearly love. They call it a winter azalea. I'm not quite sure what it is. I've never seen it anywhere. I keep it very safe because I've never seen it where I could replant it. But at a certain point, just before the air gets really hot, right, still in spring, but just as the air is getting really warm, the blooms come out and it smells like lemons. Like it smells like lemon pie baking.
Yep.
And because the heat hits it and the breeze comes up to the porch. Oh my gosh, I crave lemons so bad from that bush. And it does not produce any fruit. It just produces these flowers. It's amazing.
So what's your favorite lemon recipe?
What?
I tried making limoncello. So I've got the lemons and the vodka. I've done that. The other one I've done was Irish cream.
So, Irish cream with lemon?
Irish cream, Baileys.
Baileys with lemons?
No, without the lemon.
Oh, okay.
Because I worked with Kerry. Kerry is an international food manufacturer.
Okay, yeah.
So I had all these old Vietnamese ladies in the chemists that were chemists giving me recipes and giving me all these leftover samples. Okay. So they gave me the recipe for Baileys. So I made Baileys during Christmas. And I bought a real bottle and put the two of them together. No different. You couldn't tell the difference.
Wow. Wow.
And the same with
limoncello too. I would love to taste your limoncello. This is interesting. I've never thought about creating alcohol products. I come from the country of moonshine, right? Not the U.S. I come from the land of moonshine. NASCAR is why moonshine exists. If you get into NASCAR driving, it all started from driving as fast as you can through the mountains with your moonshine, and that's how NASCAR started. And so moonshine is quite interesting to me, like it and how it evolved. Yet we have the ABC store, right? So for many, many years, the alcohol store that's under federal regulation would not allow our own moonshiners to distribute their alcohol. And it's pretty good. Like some of it is, we have a thing called Applejack, pretty much, apple soda.
Yep.
And I love it. Applejack at Christmas is, if you get the right one and the person who makes it right, it's really, really good. But, and I love lemon. It would be interesting to make a Baileys, but not chocolate, a lemon cream.
Lemon cream, yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting? A lemon cream like a Baileys?
Yep.
That would be quite tasty.
Kim, what you can try, if you have a coffee and if you put some cream, you can just garnish some lemon on top of that.
I never thought of lemon in coffee. That's interesting.
Yeah. And also, if you're having coffee without milk, you can put squeeze one lemon and then just try it like a lemon coffee. That will also work. And also in India, we use a lot of lemons in our day-to-day recipes and dish. And one of the pickle is a very famous pickle, which is a lemon pickle, where we cut down the lemon and put some sugar and put some salt and some spicy and let it dry for maybe a month in the sun, solar dry, and then you can just have it. And the more older that pickle is, the more better it is, and also it's good for health basically. So it's a natural healer basically. You can try it for basic, natural immunity booster kind of a thing.
That's interesting because limoncello is soaked in the sun the same way. Yeah, limoncello is. So you dry it in the sun with the sugars and the spices, and then you eat it like a candy, then like a pickle.
But what we do in India, we have different colors of lemon while doing the pickle. So starting with yellow and then turn to brownish, reddish brown, and then it turn into brown, and then into black, and then it turn into coal black. And each and every lemon have a different flavor and a different experience of tasting it basically.
Wow.
So that's how we use a lot of lemons. And also if you want to try anything with the drink, so if you want to drink Coca-Cola or maybe Fanta or anything, you can just squeeze a lemon and then put some salt, and then it would be a good drink.
You know, lemon and Coke has been a big popular thing for many, many years. Rum and Coke. No, but limes too. Limes are very, very popular. There's some very popular drinks with limes, but lemon has that special, right? There's just something special about lemons. I like lemon and ginger mixed together. I love to have the lemon ginger mix, even if you soak them. And but, you know, ginger's always so healthy for you anyway. And then the lemons have an antiseptic. You know, sometimes I get that too, Ankit. I got it.
So that's what I was about to say to Henning, that we might be different people in different countries, but we are same, but little different. Mm-hmm. Because we do a lot of similar things in a different manner. That's what I mean. Lemon chilos and lemon pickle is all about.
Yeah, no, Henning is, I've loved our friendship. You know, it's so funny. I get it. Don't zoom in on me. I want to share the story with you guys though. I go to the film festival and I'm supposed to meet somebody there, right? And to get into some of these things, you have to have these special badges, right? And this is the world's largest film festival. It's in the Salt Lake City area. And I was asked to stay a few days. I was there for a Shark Tank. And I was asked to stay a few days to go to the film festival to meet somebody. So okay, why not? I'm already here. That was a long flight. You know, I'll extend my stay. So I go. And it's quite interesting. It's not like it's under one big roof. It's in a ski town, and it's all these many different buildings. And snow up to meet my head, right? It's snow this high. And it's very cold. And I'm like, how do you have a film festival amongst all of this? There's a lot of drinking too, right? So I get there, and the people that I was supposed to meet weren't there. And so I thought, well, you know, I'll just walk around. I don't have a badge or anything, but I tell people who I'm with. I'm with Money Masters, PBS, and oh, come over here, like I was supposed to be there. And I thought, well, then they were waiting for me, right? So they get all excited and they're talking to me. They give me a badge and all these cool things. And oh my God, you got to go down and talk to Henning. And I go, well, he's not on my list, but I'm going to go with the flow. They acted like they were expecting me. I kid you not.
Oh, okay.
But the end result is neither one of us really knew each other. So I go down to meet Henning. I go down into this dark basement where they're showing movies and directors are there talking about their movies. And the Prince of Netherlands actually walked through. Oh, hi, Kim. Anyway. So what was funny about all of this is he was expecting someone to meet someone. I was expecting to meet someone. We thought we were expected to meet each other. So here's what's funnier. We sit down and start talking, and we talk for hours. Like we're best friends. We don't even stop. And, you know, people are coming and going and standing in line to get, and he's won this huge award. Like he's got this big, beautiful award, right? And it's in a bag. And I know that a lot of money was put into this. And so he goes, you know, Kim, I got to go upstairs and talk to some people. But I want you to join my team. I want you to come and hang out with us and have dinner with us and just get to know the people. And I go, okay, this is great. So he said, I'll be right back. And he left and he never came back. Oh. So that was a big stand up. But what happened was he wasn't feeling good. So he went to go take a nap, but he left his bag. So, and it was this award, and I felt very obligated to get it to him. Now, I had no plans to go back into the film festival the next day, but the only reason why I went back was to take the award back to him. And when I did that, he invited me to dinner. I got to meet the whole team, and it became this friendship that didn't end, right? But here's the thing: we weren't supposed to meet each other, right? He was waiting for somebody. I was waiting for somebody. Neither one of those showed up, and out of it, yeah, we became best friends. I went to their ski house. where they had about 25 to 30 people cooking dinner. I got into the kitchen, and I became part of the family. And that's how they are. They are just that warm, and we had a good time getting to know each other. And what's weird is it's kind of like you and Kit and Willie. Sometimes some ideas don't follow through, right? You go, oh, I got this, but we never stop, right? We never stop respecting each other. We never stop calling each other, going, hey, how about this? Hey, how about, and I notice our network's slowing down. So anyway, so that is how that relationship started. And the reason why I bring this up is in business, this is very important. But it's also very important in a personal life as well to have these kind of relationships and friendships. And I just want to say, he over complimented me, but he's smart. He's one of the smartest directors I've ever met. But to watch him work with the people is just mind-boggling. And he'll not have a grand amount of money, yet he'll pull off red carpet events. And I go, wow, how did he do this? Right? He's got very limited money. He doesn't have all the money that Star Wars gets or Ron Howard type directors get all of these money. Yet he pulls off these amazing red carpet events. And I think those promotional events are nice, but I think these watch parties can be even better because it's a whole world can come to these, right? The whole world. It's not just the people who are in LA. The last red carpet event I was unable to make, and I felt really bad. But I got to go be there and watch him film the movie. That was cool. So I got to see.
But you know what happened? Last week we have Robert, and today we had Hennings. They look little similar in terms of their thoughts. They wanted to make movies for their audience, and they know what their audience is. And then they're talking about positive and real movies, and not those franchise-based movies with, millions and billions of dollars of time.
Yeah. That's and good point. But also, they both have a mission. They want to come out with healthy, mindful, healthy, wholesome hope. One of his biggest missions is to help stop suicides. That's one of teen suicides are his huge mission in life. And if you really get to know him, and go to some of his watch parties, you'll see that this is what he is really big on, that is inspiring people, right? To not be the bullies, to become healthy, mentally smart. Yeah. And his movies are like that. They remind me of The Breakfast Club mixed with The Sopranos. If you remember, well, dude, there's this New York mix. I'm like, you're in LA filming New York, right? All this New York accent, but that's where Henning's from. And and like you said, the stories are based on real life stories. They are real stories. And one of the things I like to do though, before movies are made, I like to read the books. Because there's just so much difference between the book and the story. But one of the things I find is if you have the book writer write the script and direct the movie, not much gets changed from the book.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm. Because the vision is same, and then they know what the mindset, and then that's how they make the movies.
Yeah.
But I would like to know what's happening in Australia in terms of movie culture. I mean, do you have
everything? Everything is in lockdown at the moment, and that's
not generally. I mean, not about right now, but generally, what kind of movies you make in Australia, and what kind of movies you watch in Australia?
Most of the ones they watch here are American ones, American movies. Outside of that, one that intrigued me quite a lot was Primal Fear, Richard Gere, Primal Fear.
Yeah.
Because after watching the movie, I was at the bookshop and I picked up the books. That was the series of Primal Fear. So it was written by the same author. So I'm thinking to myself, man, Primal Fear was really way out of its league when it first started. Why didn't it carry on? And that's the part that sort of got to me. The conspiracy theory behind that was because Richard Gere was in, and mainland China, because Richard Gere is with the Dalai Lama. He's a big advocate of the Dalai Lama, and mainland China saying, "Okay, no more movies for you." So that's why Richard Gere didn't do any more movies. But yeah, that was really good. That was really good.
Richard Gere has been some of my favorite though. Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, I think he's the world famous. I mean, and most of the people's favorite Richard Gere is. That's how he is.
Yeah. The Pretty Woman.
Favorite. Yeah. I do love the movie Dragonfly. I thought that was one of the most thought through.
I wanted to discuss Henning about the movie Gravity. What happened with Gravity?
Gravity? What movie Gravity? I haven't seen Gravity. Sasha, have you seen Gravity?
Oh, yes. Yes. Normally,
Kim, we have a very close connection with the movie Gravity. While the movie was released in India, we have a Mars orbit going to Mars. And the Mars orbit mission is MOM. Mars orbit mission, MOM. So the mission name is MOM. And we did that mission in $74 million. And the Gravity movie took $100 million. And we were very excited to see a movie took $100 million as a budget, and our budget to send an orbit to Mars is $74 million.
So I'm going to share something with you. Look at the talent. So when I ran through a budget, Henning was kind enough to let me look at a movie budget. And when you look at a budget, a lot of your movie, even cameo, if you want to try to even just get a cameo of Bruce Willis to come and help get you that spotlight you need to say, hey, Bruce Willis is in my movie. He's just a cameo. You're going to spend a lot of money on that actor. And this is what I tell people. Those famous actors, they had a first movie, right? So don't be afraid to let a new person come be your star. Just this is where a star comes from. And I learned this through some very reliable people in my career, is consistency. Okay. Consistency, be reliable, and being there and available to be on time. Yeah. I want you guys to know I was not Nick's first pick.
Okay.
I was not a brain. I did not have a PhD. Nick, I'm sorry. I hope I'm not hurting your feelings. But I wasn't. I was not his first pick. But what I was I was reliable. Most of the time on time. Most of the time. But I was reliable. I was always there with an idea, always there with a positive attitude, a list of questions that he would steal from me and use for him. But I was always prepared and there. I was consistent and reliable for him. And through it, Nick and I built a show that everyone said, wow, you two are amazing together. People would come up to us and go, we haven't seen anyone like this since Joan London and what's his name? I say that on purpose. But it's serious. Paul Franklin, who was the president of CBS, was really wow, you two are great. We had directors come up to us. We've not seen anyone like you two. But the thing is we trusted each other. We respected each other. We were reliable, both of us, always there. It didn't matter. There was one day Nick got sick. And I had to go open by myself. I was nervous, but that had to happen one day, right? That had to, of course, it was the most world's famous person we were interviewing, and he couldn't show up, but he was sick, folks. I can't blame him for that. But we're reliable, and this is what I tell people: consistency. Walter Football, he built his 6 million fans and his business and the money he makes by consistently being there the same time every week. So if you're going to get in this business, you have to be committed to say, I'm going to do this, fail or not. One of the guys who has millions and millions of fans, Nick remembers his name, The Beast. Yeah. He became that way because every week he came out at the same time, but he had no script, no lineup, and he literally fumbled his opening every time. And that's the reason why people watched him. How stupid is he going to be this week? Okay. I think about this but eventually, once he got past all of that, he got his message out, right? And but it took, and what I've learned is in the public view, sometimes it's as the craziest story ever people will follow. The only time I ever had a viral story go was a stupid story. A very stupid story. I told the truth of what happened one morning. It was real stupid. I go, I can't believe this. Oh my God, I can't believe this. That story went viral in hours. I had more than 7,000 hits. I didn't even have 100 people on my LinkedIn because I was a very private person. And I was like, wow, a stupid story goes viral. Okay. So, but.
And that's the crazy part about viral. You can't orchestrate viral.
Yeah.
It happens by accident. It's like, boom, hey, where did that come from?
Right. It's just a moment, right? It's the moment of how people feel, what people want. And I think Henning has learning that too. And Robert Krantz, in some of our conversations with them, is that you don't know what the public are going to like, right? But Krantz said something that really impacted me. He goes, if I get 1,000 people that like me, I'm thrilled. But the movie industry wants millions, right? They want to know how many followers do you have, and they want millions. But they're happy if they have 1,000 people like them and get the message, because that's what they're about. And in the end, both of them are successful. They're not billions of dollars and millions of dollars movie makers. They're not the big studios. I've been in a few of the big studios. But they're successful and they're making it happen. They're not giving up. And, but that's what you got to do. Sasha, he's got this great idea. He wants to build it so that people have something fun to do. You use your brain. It's a different way to play the game. I think it's wonderful. I love it. I'm not good at it yet, but I'm not good at playing the game either. I'm not quite. I get, what, Sasha, though? I got all these chess friends now, people who have friended me from chess. They all ask me to play. And I'm like, I can't play. I can, but I'm not as good as, if you really want to learn how to play, you play with Sasha or you play with Nick or, somebody who plays chess. How are you feeling today, Sasha?
Very good, very good. Chess is a really fantastic activity. As I said before, I think that it was brought from outer space, from another planet, or maybe even another galactic altogether, because I can't believe that humankind was smart enough to invent this game. I'm optimistic about humankind, but not to that degree. He believes that human could invent it. So I think it was brought from outer space, and we are so grateful to whoever brought it, so we can now enjoy and play it. Now I'm going to tell you something interesting. That the day before yesterday, I had a few cognacs and cigars with a friend of mine who lives very close to me. Nevertheless, we always visit by driving to each other place, although I can walk probably just as fast. But it's laziness, I guess. And we were talking about different things and enjoying ourselves. And there he showed to me something. What he showed to me really astonished both me and himself as well. He had an apartment in North Miami Beach, Florida, and he just sold it 2 years ago for $450,000. And last year it was $550,000. And he was very unhappy. Why is it he basically walk away from $100,000? Why did he do it? He didn't really need to sell. He just thought that, oh, okay, why don't they sell it? Now, then he showed to me that the same apartment is listed now for sale at $325,000. So now he is in a much better mood. So he says, so after all, I made $125,000. Oh my God, it made my day. I'm so happy. And I told him, you know what? wait for a year, maybe two, and you'll buy it back for $150,000, and you will save even more money.
Right. I mean, and it's the way you look at it. And this is what I tell people: hindsight. Heck yeah! If I had hindsight, I'd make a lot of money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it's how he looked at it, right? It's like
exactly. It's the same thing. You see, it's either the glass half full or it's half empty, right? Huh? It's the same thing. Oh, okay. It was a time back, probably 30, even 35 years ago. I was flying on charter plane once a month from Toronto to Atlantic City. And so we would leave, say, 8 o'clock in the morning and coming back at 11 at night. So all day we could spend in casino. I played blackjack at the time a lot, and I played on fairly high level. So my goal was very simple. I was taking with me $2,500 US, and I had to bring back 5,000. That's all, just double your money, and the end of story. And that worked for me for a while. And I have a lot of strategies and money management and just name it. So once I went there, and I started to play. You see, one of the rules is that if you lose 10% of your stake, run, go to another table, listen to music, do something else. Just stop the process. Okay, so I started to play. So to choose a first table is extremely important, because if you are going ahead, what you do, you don't stop the game. You continue to play until you lose 10% from your maximum. So if, let's see, I have $2,500, I start the game. I went to $3,000 now, and then I lost 300. It's 10% from your maximum. You stop the game and do something. Okay, so I started to play, and I lost 10% very quickly. Went to another table, lost another 10% very quickly. Went to a lunch, listened to some music, came back. And the game started slowly to become positive for me, but it was very tough. I was really struggling. Although I started to build slowly my stake, but it was very, very difficult situation. I was really struggling. So finally, by the time it was already 7 in the evening, finally I was up in the game, and my total bankroll was at the time $4,400. But remember, my goal was 5,000. And I went for a walk on the boardwalk, and I started to think, why am I so greedy? I have $4,400, and I have to risk it all to win another $600. Who needs the $600? It's just enough. Just take it easy, go back to the airport, and just fly back. And I thought that it was a brilliant concept, and I decided, okay, I'll just walk a little bit. And then strange thing happened. For some reason, something occurred to me that what if I just came back, I just came from Toronto with $4,400 of my own money, and all I need is to win $600. How about that?
Yeah.
When that occurred to me, I didn't walk, I ran to the casino. I won the $600 and much more. I won something like extra $1,200 in probably 4 or 5 minutes. It didn't take me that long. So I made myself a check for $5,000. Then I spent the rest of the money on different presents and just don't know what. And that's the story.
Play money, right?
And I think it's a perception. It's a perception whether what you have is plenty or it's nothing. Or you remember the story about one billionaire at the end of Great Depression of the 1930s. And he had very substantial businesses and newspapers and just name it, ships. So he was worth really billions of dollars at the time. So he asked his accountants to calculate everything. If he liquidates everything, what is he left with? So they calculated everything, and they told him that if he just sold everything right now, he would be worth in cash $4 million. He told them, thank you very much, went into his cabinet and killed himself. Because $4 million for him, it was a failure. It was the end of the walk. It was the end of the story. It was the end of his life. For somebody else, $4 million, believe it or not, it would be an amount, especially in 30s. It would be an incredible amount of wealth that they would live for years, maybe until the end of their lives, and would leave something to their kids and grandkids and so on. Not for him. So the size of your fortune, the way you perceive your success in life, very different things for very different people. There's no uniform opinion.
It is.
That's a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you follow the same strategy while investing in the equity market as well?
Investing in market?
Do you follow the same strategy when you invest in equity?
Oh, you mean, yeah, okay. You're talking about money management system?
Money management or maybe investing in stocks?
Well, okay, if there is a rule like you cut your losses and to keep your winners running. I mean, it's an old proven strategy. See, the problem with stock market is, let's see if you play a game, let's say a blackjack. Say you put $1,000 on your card, you can win $1,000, $1,500 in blackjack, and you lose your $1,000 just as quickly. That's the end process. You know how much you can win, how much you can lose. The stock market, the problem is that when you start to lose, your loss is essentially endless. Let's say you bought a stock at $40 and it goes down to 39.5. So you think, okay, it will recover and then you'll sell. Nope, it's not going to recover. Guess what? It will go down to 39, then 38, 35, 20, 15. It will go down. So I remember the best advice, I think William O'Neill in his Investors Business Daily, probably 25 years ago, he said, if you ever have margin call, sell everything, terminate it, stop all your positions, get zero. You still have some cash left, perhaps. It doesn't matter. You invested $100,000 and you're now left with $60,000. Remember, you have still $60,000. It's a lot of money. You can rebuild your position. You can start anew. Now, if you continue the game, there is no end to it. You will lose everything. It's exactly what's happening right now. You see, small investors are out of the market now, 100%. They're all wiped out, all of them. Not only that, a lot of people are still owe money because the margin calls were so severe that if they wouldn't cover in the first day or two, they would be left to run for another 3-4 days. And in these 3-4 days, they would lose everything what they had plus. So imagine you have $100,000 account, you lost all your $100,000 plus margin call. You have to add up, say, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 just to satisfy your broker, and your broker, if you will not do that, he will sue you. But I have one secret: in the times like this, that everything is going down the drain, there will be obviously no recovery. There will be permanent damage to a way of life, to economy, to real estate, to everything. My advice, if somebody wants to listen to my advice, is this: stop paying your bills. Cancel all your insurances, stop paying them, stop paying your rent if you have one, stop paying insurance for your car. Just stop all payments. Keep cash to yourself. Whatever you're still left with, keep it to yourself, and that will help you to rebuild your life in 3-4 years' time, or whatever it will start to hopefully recover. That's what you can do now, because now if you lose whatever cash you still have, if you lose it, nobody will come to you and say, sorry, oh, you lost your cash, here it's back to you. Nobody. So preservation of cash is the most important aspect of your life, or your business decisions, your life decisions, anything what you do, preserve cash. Please do that. That will help.
We heard that in
India, what we do is we have a reserve fund basically, which we reserve it for some emergency or some situation when we require some funds and something is not working. So that at that point of time we use that reserve fund. So most of the Indians are maybe using the reserve fund in coming months. But what we also in India what we follow is that we try to cut down our basic necessities and resources and costs so that we can have enough money to live or sustain maybe a little longer. That's what we do to try to keep a low affair or maybe try to keep yourself a little low so that you have more days to survive till the time you'll get money or something like that.
Okay. Well, if it works, then it works. Yeah. I know that, see, I've always managed my own finances, my own money. I would never allow any financial advisor or broker or whoever it is even to touch that.
Yeah.
Close. Because all people who have managed account, if they will break even at the end of the day and get their money back, it's 100% success.
Yeah.
Because after taking their fees of your account and feeding all the lovely lifestyle and so on, you're left with nothing. And most likely you won't even get your money back.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, a thing like this,
Sasha, I am the same way. I don't even like accountants doing my taxes for me. Everyone says, no. I don't like them. The biggest thefts that I have witnessed over the years in big corp or even just rich people was their accountants filtering all that money because their accountants would just a little bit. That one of the richest men here in Raleigh, his best friend was his accountant. His best friend also stole millions of dollars from him over the years. They played golf together every day. They played tennis together. He really didn't have to steal from him. He didn't because he took care of him anyway. Made sure he had memberships in all the country clubs, made sure he was always invited to everything, yet he would steal a little bit every year. And it broke his heart. And he never trusted anyone else again after that. It's just, and all too often you see the accountants run away with the wives. I've heard that story so often. I got a painting. I have a painting up here from a man who used to be one of the famous painters in the area, really made a lot of money. Usually painters have to wait till they die, right?
Yeah.
Not him. He was raking it in. And his accountant and his wife and his accountant took all the money, embezzled it, and ran off. So when he went home one day, he had no more home. It was gone. He was being booted out. He didn't even have a paintbrush. No paintbrushes, no nothing. And so a friend found out what happened and said, look, I'll give you my cabin and you can go there and rest and figure out what you're going to do and figure out how to get out of this. He had no money. They emptied the bank account and everything and went off to the Caymans. And so his friend bought him, I guess, some paints and stuff, but nobody sent paintbrushes. So the painting is actually him. He learned how to finger paint. And look at that. So this is the good out of the bad, right? He learned how to paint without paintbrushes.
Wow.
And look at this. Well, I know him. I bump into him all the time. I love Alan. And this is how he signs it now.
Wow. Very classy.
But what I've learned through his experiences is, one, don't trust the accountant. And two, because that was I've heard that story many times, but look what he does now, right? Without a paintbrush, right? He didn't let his passion stop. And his friend came by the cabin one day because he made all of these paintings. My goodness, you're busy. And he goes, well, I got to start making money again. And he goes, where are your paintbrushes? He goes, I did it with my fingers. You forgot to send the paintbrush. I'm gonna see if he'll come on our show. He used to teach painting on TV, like the Bob guy. So yeah, he used to do that. But he also has a cookbook and he teaches cooking. So maybe we can get him on a Lifetime Lifestyles show. But when you see something like that, you go, wow, you know what? That's a person who just doesn't stop, right? All his money gone, his house gone, his wife gone, the dog, everything gone.
and that's resilience.
Yeah.
And that's the missing component in startups.
Right here, right?
Yeah.
If
Resilience.
somebody gave him
something from here, basically. That's how life is. And I think artists and performers, they think from their heart, and business people who understand money, they think from here.
Yes. And that's the problem with startups. It's they got blinkers on, you know. If you're not from Silicon Valley, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know?
Really, my thoughts about startup, you know what? In the times like this, the only startup should be considered if the man behind startup and his ideas are so huge, so revolutionary, so incredible that he'll just do it, regardless of your advice, my advice, or anybody's advice, and investors or anything. It will just happen. It has to be huge, revolutionary, so on.
Telling you negative things about what you're doing too. You just have to shut it out. Like everybody's going to tell you, "Are you crazy? You're stupid. You're doing things. You're letting people everything negative." You got to learn to.
Yeah, but you see, when the person had that idea and that desire to do it, that nothing will stop him anyway. Whoever people will tell him that it's complicated, it will never work. So it doesn't matter. He'll just barge ahead and he will just do it. The rest of the people, they'll do very well by sitting on their couches, really. Because otherwise, let's say somebody save, I don't know, $20,000, $100,000, $500,000, they'll just blow it away. In times like this, no chances. If before you would give him, say, probably some 5% to succeed, maybe even 10. Today, you have to divide it by 10. So you have half a percent to succeed, or even less. So in time like this, has to be incredibly strong, genuine idea to succeed. Otherwise,
and that's why we want to pull together some resources for people to talk to and start, distributing and getting some exposure to some of these ideas. Abhijit has got a wonderful program for people who want to get businesses back up and going, and they're establishing some processes with their prime minister of how people can get back into the world, because it is the small businesses that have suffered, Sasha. It's the people who rely on the community and people like us that would go out and buy their artwork, their books.
It's just the beginning. Nobody suffered yet. It's just the beginning.
It is.
Really what's happened with all the story, you will know maybe 3-4 years from now. Right now, nothing has really happened. It's all just a talk here, a talk there. Well, these people are suffering, that people are suffering. A real situation will come through in about 3 months' time. And hopefully we'll all be still alive and we will witness that. Then
witness a huge impact. Dan Brooke shared with us as well, all the extra homeless people. I'm like, what's up with the more homeless people? I thought people weren't supposed to be getting evicted during this time frame. But I also heard stories just in my neck of the woods where somebody was complaining that their grandmother's rent went up by $500 more a month because she can't go anywhere, right? We're locked down.
Yep.
So I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. People are taking advantage of people. Those people, something bad will happen to them. They'll eventually go under something. I shouldn't say something bad, but you can't take advantage of people like this. But I was shocked to hear that there's people losing their homes and becoming homeless right now.
Not yet. Wait. Right now, smart people don't pay the rent already.
Right.
Some more sort of conscious
I'm
people.
still paying mine.
There are some people who are still paying rent. To my surprise, there are still people who are paying the rent. But that will stop in about 2-3 months' time.
Take my house away. So.
But it's your house. I mean, you don't pay the rent, right? So
no,
you
I
don't
pay
have
the mortgage. I pay the mortgage. So
yeah, if you stop paying the mortgage, you can still live. In times like this, they will allow you to carry on for 2 years at least, maybe even longer. So you stop making any payments. Now, remember another story. If you have $1,000 and you have a choice to buy gold or to buy a gun. So one answer is, of course, to buy gold. Who needs a gun? The second answer is buy the gun, because one who has a gun has a gun and a gold as well. Okay, so you have everything, right?
That's right.
So try to buy a gun now. Can you do it really?
They turn in your guns in Australia, right? Everybody had to turn. Yeah.
Except the bikies.
Except the bikies.
Well, you definitely need to have guns because obviously the unrest will start in about 2-3 months, in my opinion, simply because there are just too many people who just won't have means to survive. And when you don't have means to survive, what you're going to do? Just lie down and die? I don't think so. I think people will take their arms in their hands.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To just be protective.
I think you're right. But I think I remember a saying one time about he who has the power has the gold. He who has the gun has the gold. I think, there's something to be said there. They also say, don't give a man fish, teach him to fish, right? And one of my things is if there's that many homeless right now, and we're in reboot, and our hotels are sitting there empty, let's open up the hotels, establish a routine where people have to earn their weight in that hotel, like maybe cook meals or clean or something. But also because most hotels have like meeting rooms, have classes to help them re-engage back into a workplace. Why do we have to make this so difficult? Why do we have to make it such a drama story when there are solutions sitting right there in front of our face? I don't get it. The hotels are going under. Well, they don't have to. We can house people in them. We can turn some of them into emergency pandemic centers instead of having all the people with COVID going to the hospitals and medical centers where they're infecting people who aren't ready for it or don't need to be. Have a special place where they go to and you treat them just like they did in 93 days. They had a special hospital set up and you sent anybody with the disease to that hospital. That's how you contain it, right?
Kim, one question to you. If you would own a hotel, would you like to convert it in a coronavirus center where infected people would come?
I would, because when everything's over, it converts back. So yes, I would. I would for several.
But everything will be over in 3-4 years. In the meantime, you have obviously these people are not going to pay you for rooms. So it's kind of, you have to provide free rooms and you have to keep all expenses running. How you can do that?
So no, you don't. You turn the expenses over to the government to turn it into a pandemic center. So none of the money comes out of your pocket, and in return, you get a tax deduction later. So all of this becomes a tax write-off for you.
You're a very optimistic person. If you think the government will cover your expenses, you're a very, very optimistic person. Good for you. Try it.
I'm not optimistic in the fact that we're already spending the money. So they're spending the money at a hospital, but they're overflown. They're overflown with mixing people together. So if you take the pandemic part of it and put it into a place that's not being used anyway, yes, I would turn my buildings into that, because it would be a temporary, and the government would pick up the cost of the operating expenses. I wouldn't have to do that. Yeah. But you're picking up the cost of the expenses anyway, but now you're isolating the pandemic. Now you've become a hero in the situation. Not that you did this to become a hero, but you became a solution. All right.
Absolutely.
And that solution evolves into currency reestablishing itself down the road. And I say then give them the tax deduction like shake and stake.
Kim, has anybody tried it already?
No, I just brought it up this week. This is
happening in India.
I came up with it. It was my idea.
In India, a lot of private hotels and a lot of hospitals have been governed or operated by the government right now. And people are volunteering their hotels and hospitals so that government can take up and do the needful. And also what's happening is that it builds your brand in such a way that people will associate with your brand for a longer period of time without spending $1 in advertisements, and they think that you are doing something for humanity. So they know that they will have to look after you once the pandemic is over. So it's happening, and you won't believe, Sasha, a lot of hospitals are coming forward and giving their hospitals to the government that run till the time you want to run, and then once everything is done, then we'll take it over.
It's all wonderful, except I have a strange feeling that once you do that and really open your hotel for people with coronavirus or so on, next day you will have a government inspector who would tell you that you don't have licenses and you cannot operate, and you have to pay $100,000 fine in next 7 days, and if not, you will go to jail, and they will take all your properties and so on. I believe in justice.
No, it might be. I mean, you might be right. It's not that it won't happen, but it would be happening for 1% of those people who are not having those required licenses. And if they don't have license, they won't be coming forward and giving their hotels and hospitals to the government.
For a pandemic team, period. Yeah. A pandemic team should be certified and coded. You're pretty much licensing your building back to the government is what you're doing. In return, it's kind of like when they did eminent domain on my property, right? And I fought it because people have been trying to steal a portion of our property. They didn't want to pay for it. They just want to take it. And then finally, instead of a real estate agent who's been trying to steal our property from us, a little section of it, a school built next door. And this is when I learned that schools are their own law, and so you can't fight them. But it's just a section, and they took it. But I made a deal with them once. It's fine. Lease it from me, and return it back to me when you're done with it in better condition than you took it. That's all I ask of you. You know, it's property I'm not using anymore. You don't want to pay for it. Nobody's ever wanted to pay for it. This is what's bothered me. People have come and they needed it. Everybody says that we need it in order to build all these houses. We need it in order to do this. Fine, pay me. Pay me for it. You know, I've paid taxes on it over the years. I've taken care of it over the years. Why doesn't anybody want to pay me for it? And so people have tried to do quick writs on it. They've tried to sneak things through the courts on it. They're pretty sneaky people. But it was the school system. What happened was those people went bankrupt. They blamed me for going bankrupt. And they went bankrupt. The federal government came in and took the property and gave it to the schools. The schools got it. They wanted it anyway, so they got it anyway. So this is my story to people. If you're ever up against a school, just give in and give it to them, because you're not going to win against the school. They're going to get the property. If they want it, they'll get it via way.
Eminent domain.
Oh yeah, they ended up eminent domaining my section of the property, but I made a deal with them, and I felt like my deal was a pretty fair deal. They didn't do what they promised. They ended up turning it into a culvert and drain, which that's not what it was supposed to be turned into. They lie. They always lie. But the thing is that no matter what, the government's going to get out of it what they want. But I think if we learn to utilize the resources that we have instead of arguing and fighting, turn these resources and properties that are sitting empty into a means of helping, I think there's something that can be made out of it.
Something about property.
That's where I was going.
You're expert in real estate. Let me ask you a question, Nick. Yeah. What is the most searched word in Wikipedia and all dictionaries right now? Forbearance.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Forbearance is the most researched word.
Wow.
What is it?
Forbearance.
Forbearance.
Okay. Interesting. A quick question I have on Yardstream: do we capture people's email addresses when they get on?
No, we capture viewerships, and if they want to watch us on IBM TV, they have to register, and we get their emails through IBM.
Oh, I see. So if they want to watch us on IBM TV and they register, that's how we get their email. Because I was just online with a Podster. I had forgotten. Well, actually, what I wanted to do is get them together with you guys, but then I realized we're live and I couldn't do that. But he started asking some good questions. One was, like, in terms of advertisement, how do we know? Does he get credit? Because they went to see his show. And I thought, well, this is beyond my capacity. There might be a way you can embed, like at the bottom, where they press a button and they go on and they buy a product or something like that. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow about it. He asked a lot of good business questions, to be honest with you. And I didn't know the answer to them. And also the demographics, I don't know the answer to that because I only see spotted demographics, and there's spotted, and then there's the real demographics, and they're really hard to get.
There has to be a collaboration agreement. If we're providing the name brand for them to distribute their content on, we need to establish some things, but we also need to wrap up and have this conversation tomorrow on our
conversation tomorrow, because I have my whole theory about this stuff.
Let's have our ambassador of social norm. Our new social norm ambassador is going to show us.
Coronavirus से कैसे बचेंगे? हैंड होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अच्छू अच्छू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
Very good. All right, so we'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern, which is a little earlier for Ankit and Willie Hill. So
be positive.
It'll be better. Yeah, right. Because I got all this business stuff.
One more thing. Don't forget to go watch the watch show tonight with Henry Morales.
Right? Good interview tonight.
I don't know about you guys, but
He's good. He's good. Yep. All right.
The movie's good.
All right.